Hey guys, Chaos Shinobi here. This is a story where after Kakashi refuses to teach Naruto, Naruto runs away and discovers the Iron Man suit and technology, and becomes the new super genius Tony Stark of the Naruto world. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. Naruto Uzumaki stood in the Konoha hospital in front of his sensei Hatake Kakashi and asked, "But why can't you teach me?" Kakashi sighed as he closed his book and said, "Look Naruto, I only put you in the Chunin exam for the same reason I put Sakura in it, for experience. I never imagined you would make it past the second round, and the only reason you did was because you couldn't control your bodily functions and farted in Kiba's face. Deep down you know that was the only reason you won that match. You are not ready for the exams. I have asked another Jounin to take this month and train you in chakra control since that is your greatest weakness. Perhaps after the exams are over you will have enough control so I could teach you something, but I am not going to teach you anything because truthfully, no matter what I teach you, you could not defeat Neji, and I will not waste my time training you since at this time you are not worth it. I will be taking Sasuke to train him since he is ready for the Chunin exams." Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, "It's always about Sasuke. If you even spent half the time training me or Sakura as you do Sasuke, then I might have believed you bullshit story just said, but I know you never cared about either of us. All you have ever cared about is Sasuke." And as Kakashi shoe-shined away, leaving Naruto standing in the hall, Naruto said, "Well, screw you, Kakashi. I will train myself and I will fight Neji and I will beat him and then I will beat everyone until I get to Sasuke and I will leave him lying in the dirt. Even if I have to make a deal with Kyuubi to do it." As he turned and began to walk down the hall, ignoring the scared looks people were giving him. As Naruto rounded the corner and neared the stairs when a hand grabbed him from an open room and yanked him into the room before slamming the door shut. Naruto, who found himself getting up off the floor, looked up and saw a man with brown hair and brown eyes looking at him and asked, "Are you really willing to do anything to defeat the Uchiha? You would be willing to use the Kyuubi?" Naruto asked, "Who are you?" as he looked around the room. The man said in a commanding voice, "Answer the question, Naruto. Does proving you're not worthless mean that much to you that you could have everyone who doesn't hate you now hate you for using it? Do you really feel that you have no options?" Naruto glared and said, "Yeah, I have nothing to lose. Nobody cares about me and nobody would give a damn if I died tomorrow, so why not? If using the damn Kyuubi that everyone hates me for is the only way anyone will ever see me as something but the dead last idiot who doesn't even deserve to live, then so be it." The man looked at Naruto for several minutes and asked, "What if there was another way? A way that could cost you your life, but if you lived it would give you everything you need to succeed in life and never be the failure that everyone thinks you are? Would you be willing to take the risk?" Naruto thought several seconds and nodded slowly, and the man said, "Good. Come to this address tonight at 8 and try not to be noticed." As he handed Naruto a business card. Naruto looked at it and read the address and thought, "This is near the outside of the village where hardly anyone lives," and asked, "Who are you?" The man said, "Someone who wishes to repay an old debt. Good day." As he turned and left the room, Naruto looked at the address and frowned a moment and left as well. At 8 p.m. Naruto walked up to the address and saw a two-story house that looked run down with several broken windows, and Naruto looked around when a voice said, "Ah, Naruto, glad you could make it," causing Naruto to turn around and saw the man from earlier, and Naruto asked, "So what is it you want?" The man went to the side of the house and raised the door to the cellar, went inside and said, "Come on boy, I don't have all day." Naruto took one last look around and followed inside, and he went down the stairs for nearly 50 feet before he came to a huge stone room, and the man had his back to Naruto working at a table and said, "I am sure you are wondering what I meant earlier and who I am. Well, I won't tell you my name because I wish to protect my family, but I can tell you what I meant. You see, I know who your father was." Making Naruto eyes wide. Naruto asked, "Who?" The man chuckled and said, "We will get to that in a moment. The debt I owe is to him. Before you were born, I was a metallurgist and my wife was a cybernetic researcher. We both worked under the king of Snow Country researching for ways to save that country. His brother Dotu pulled both of us away from what we were working on to try and help protect the country by creating new type of armor for the ninja there. Since he was the brother to the king and the king had allowed his brother to help with the research in other areas, we believed he had the right to ask us to do it, so we began to work on creating just that. A new type of armor that would help protect the people of the land of snow. We discovered though that Dotu was planning to take his army and kill his brother taking over the country, so we took as much of our data as we could and fled from the country. We had almost escaped him completely, but his men caught us a month after we had left our homeland and captured us and took our data. As they were preparing to take us out of Fire Country, your father happened to be passing by and my wife took a chance and screamed for help. He came and attacked the men who had us prisoner and freed us, but one man took a small portion of our research and made it back to Snow Country. Naruto yawned as he started to get sleepy, and he asked, what happened after he saved you and who was he? Since you talk about him in past tense, does that mean he is dead? The man said, yes. He died the same night you were born. I don't know who your mother was. As for what happened after that, he brought us here to Konoha and helped create a new identity for my wife and I, and he sent a team to Snow Country to warn the king of his brother's plan. Unfortunately, Dota took the small info that the ninja had recovered and created a weaker version of what my wife and I created that he called Snow Armor, and while the team was there to warn the king, Dota men attacked, killing the king. As far as I know, the team leader on that mission, Kakashi, and the king's daughter were the only survivors of the attack on the castle. The princess disappeared and is believed to be dead. Now my wife and I soon discovered we were going to be having a child of our own, and we were happy, but my wife passed away during childbirth, and I have raised our child the best I can. Naruto felt dizzy and asked, so what is it you are telling me exactly? My head hurts. The man said, still with his back to Naruto, what I am telling you, Naruto, is that what my wife and I invented is what I plan to give you, the original prototype armor. I had originally planned on letting what we created be lost forever because I felt the world would suffer because of it, and I did not want the blood of innocence on my hands more than it already is for what Dota created from my work, but then I saw what happened to you, and since I knew who you were and saw how you endured, even through all the hell you suffered, that you would not use the prototype for evil. That you would use it to protect that which is precious to you, so I began to research and plan and wait, and now I am ready to give it to you. This gift will affect you the rest of your life and cannot be taken away. I ask you now, will you accept it and use it to show the world you are a hero, even if it cost you your life? Naruto, who was leaning against the wall, said, yeah. The man said, I am glad. Sleep well, Naruto Namikaze, son of Minato Namikaze. Naruto's last thought before he passed out was, Namikaze. That's the name of the Yandai. The man saw Naruto pass out and he turned around and was wearing a gas mask. The man walked over and picked up Naruto and put him on the table in the middle of the room and said, forgive me. As he grabbed a scalpel off the table he was at and cut Naruto cloths off before he grabbed a new scalpel and placed it at Naruto's chest and slowly began to cut in. When Naruto awoke, he groaned and opened his eyes and thought, why is it so dark? A female voice said, because you need a few moments for your brain to reboot. Please remain still until system check is complete. Naruto's eyes got wide and asked, who's there? As suddenly he could see a light was above him and little lines with words he did not really know appeared in his vision, and he asked, what is this? The female voice said, this is the tactical display you are seeing in front of you. As a diagram of armor appeared in the center of the screen and spun slowly before going in the corner, and the voice said, this is the prototype body armor. You, Naruto Uzumaki, are now the operator of this armor. I am Eva, the electronic virtual avatar. If you have any question, please just think your questions, and I shall hear them since I am a part of you, and so people do not think you are crazy. Naruto blinked and thought, like this. Eva said, yes. Now try and raise your arms slowly. Naruto moved his right arm and then his left, and he said, yeah, though I do feel like they are heavier. Eva said, your body will adapt quickly to the weight. Now try your legs. Naruto did, and Eva said, good. Now stand up and look at yourself in the mirror to your left. Naruto slowly sat up and then looked at himself and blinked and asked, what's going on? I thought I was wearing some super armor, but I don't look any different beside the fact I am wearing new clothes that are all black, but they don't have any weapon holsters. Eva said, that is because I have a built-in stealth feature. Think of it as a really advanced hinge. To see what you are really wearing, say or think stealth shield drop. Naruto blinked and said, stealth shield drop. As suddenly his body was replaced with red armor with gold face mask and gold in several other places. Naruto stepped back startled and he said, whoa. As he realized that was his reflection and asked, is that me? Eva said, yes. Naruto asked, how do I get it off? Eva said, the armor is now a part of you. There are seals all along your body that will conceal the armor so you may shower or other things of that nature. However, if I detect danger to you, I will instantly unseal the armor and restore it to you. To seal it, think seal armor and the armor will seal, and to return the armor, think restore armor. To restore the stealth shield, think restore stealth. I advise not telling about me to anyone because they will try to learn the secret of it and take me away from you, which will result in your death. Naruto frowned and asked, so what can you do? Eva said, I have many functions that I will be happy to teach you about over the next 3 weeks. However, I suggest you try sealing the armor and examine yourself so that you know about the other changes you have underwent. Naruto thought seal armor. And the armor disappeared and Naruto saw black lines going from his neck and his hands and arms toward his chest, and he noticed a bulge in his chest and he rubbed it and thought, "What the hell?" Eva said, "That is one of the things I was referring to. Take off your shirt." Naruto pulled his shirt off and looked and saw a silver circle the size of both his fist put together in the middle of his chest with a blue light coming from it. There were also black lines running from his stomach to it, and also lines going across his body all going toward it, and he asked, "What is that, Eva?" Eva said, "That is the power device for the armor. The seal lines that are connected to it follow your chakra network to go over your entire body, including the chakra from the QB inside your stomach. I will not bore you with all the technical details since you will not understand it, but basically your QB and your chakra are now one. The chakra your heart creates to go to your body now goes directly into that device, as well as the chakra from QB, where both are now purified and controlled and directed across your body perfectly to allow you the maximum effect possible for someone as unique as you. Now your body is no longer in a constant war trying to beat the other chakra source, so your control of your chakra should double. Once you learn water walking, it will give you high Chunin level control, and if you learn kunai balancing, then you will have Jounin level control." Naruto's eyes got wide and thought, "Cool." Eva said, "I am happy you like it. Now if this device is destroyed you will die, so you must protect it when you are not wearing the armor." Naruto frowned at that and said, "I see. So what now? How long was I asleep?" Eva said, "It has been 1 week since the preliminaries. You have 3 weeks left." Naruto screamed, 3 weeks? I need to train." Eva said, "Relax, Naruto, and I will help you. I am more than just armor." Naruto said, "All right, Eva, tell me what to do." 3 weeks later, Naruto walked into the Chunin exam stadium wearing the same black pants and black shirt he had when he woke up, and he smiled and walked toward the other genins. Shikamaru looked at Naruto and said, "I see you got some respectable cloths, Naruto, though I don't see any weapon pouches. Troublesome." And he thought, "That's strange. Why does his shadow show his hair is flat and curved while his hair looks like it is spiky like normal?" As he narrowed his eyes, Naruto said, "Yeah, consider it one of several late birthday presents from my father." Genma, who was chewing his sunbon, blinked and thought, Did the kid learn who his parents are after all this time? I hope he did, and that they didn't just abandon him." Shino said, "You are different now, Naruto. Your chakra is not as unusual as it once was." Naruto said, "Oh, that. Let's just say my mind and body are truly at peace for the first time in a long time." Up in the stand, Sakura looked at Naruto and Ino said, "Well, he's not half bad now that he's out of the orange nightmare." Sakura said, "I wonder where Sasuke-kun is and what's up with Naruto. He seems different. I can't place my finger on it." A man smiled and thought, "You look like a heavy burden has been lifted from your shoulders. I hope my gift makes up for the pain you felt. Your father would have been proud of you. Also, it would help my daughter to learn that the Hyuga is not invincible." The third looked at Naruto and thought, It appears Naruto had an interesting month off. I wonder why he came here unarmed, or did he?" As he narrowed his eyes and tried to dispel any genjutsu Naruto might have on him, but none showed up, the third read Shikamaru's lips and then read Naruto, and his eyes got wide a moment and thought, "No, he could not know who his father is. It's not possible." And he motioned to the guard beside him and whispered, "Please bring Naruto here a moment. I would like to ask him about his teammate and instructor." The guard nods and disappears in a swirl of leaves, and he said, "Pardon me a moment, but the Hokage would like to speak to Uzumaki a moment about his missing teammate and instructor." Naruto walked over and the guard puts his hand on Naruto's shoulder, and both disappear in a swirl of leaves and appear on the Hokage box. People in the audience started to whisper. One said, "Did something happen to Sasuke? Where are Kakashi and Sasuke? Did that boy do something to the Uchiha?" The third motioned to the guard and said, "Please give us a moment." Both guards left in a swirl of leaves and appeared across the way, and Naruto said, "So what's up, Gigi? If it's about Sasuke team and Kakashi team, then I don't know anything since Kakashi told me I wasn't worth his time the day of the preliminaries. In fact, I was wondering if after this exam if I could change to a different team. Even if it's just temporary. I could fill in for Lee until he recovers, or maybe to a team who is missing a member." The third frowned as he heard what Kakashi said, and then heard Naruto's request and said, "I will consider it, Naruto. But if Kakashi did not train you for the month, then who did?" Naruto said, "Oh, that. Let's just say a debt to my father has been paid." The third looked confused and asked, "Your father? Do you know who he is? I mean, I never." Naruto snorts, interrupting him, and said, Drop it, Gigi. I understand now why you didn't tell me or anyone else who my dad was. Odds are his enemies would have killed me long before now or destroyed the village. I have had a lot of time to think it over and I realize you did the right thing. I would have probably shouted to the world my dad's rank equaled yours in this village, but right now I don't care. He died so suddenly he probably didn't leave me anything, but what I would like to know is if my mother is still alive or did she leave me anything and who she is. The third frowned and said, her name was Kushina Uzumaki, and she died shortly after giving birth to you from complications. They were humble people who just respected their own privacy. What money they had for you I spent over the years for you, and any scrolls or anything else they left for you would be in possession of your godfather Jiraiya of the Sannin. His duties keep him away from the village for up to a year at a time, and he could not take care of you on the road, so he sends money to help, and he plans to take you as his apprentice when you are strong enough for what he has to teach you. I am sorry, there is not more I could tell you or give you. Naruto said, it's no problem, Gigi. I am glad to finally learn that they didn't just abandon me or hate me for Kyuubi. That's odd. There is something wrong with this guy who is coming up the steps. His skin is dead. The third's eyes got wide a moment and thought, so that is your plan, Orochimaru? And said, well, thank you for informing me about your teammate and Sensei Naruto. I wanted to wish you luck today and hope you do well, and thanks for the advice. I am ready. Naruto saw the Kazekage walk up and saw the look on the Sandame's face and said, take care, Gigi. As the two guards reappeared and one went to reach for Naruto, who simply walked off the balcony, and the Sandaime and both guards ran over and looked at Naruto, who was falling to the ground below. Several people were shocked and Sakura screamed, Naruto, as she saw him fall past. Right as he was about to hit the ground, something caused the dirt to fly around, covering the area, and out of the dust Naruto walked toward the other genin and said, Sasuke's picking up on Kakashi-sensei bad habit it looks like, and will probably be 3 hours late. If that happens, does he get disqualified for wasting the time of all of our guests, or does he get special treatment? Genma said, everyone is treated the same in these exams, kid. Naruto said, right, tell me that in 3 hours. So are we ready or what? I got 2 models for the gay pedophile weekly to deal with before I face the winner of Shino and Shikamaru. Niji glared while a few people snickered and Shikamaru muttered, troublesome. Temari said, what makes you so sure you will live to make it to the 3rd round? Naruto shrugged and said, trade secret toots. I can make it to the 3rd round without trouble. In fact, not only will I make it to the 3rd round, but when I defeat you I will embarrass you for what you did in the preliminaries. Temari snorts and said, what? She your girlfriend or something? With the way you swore on her blood to avenge the Hyuga girl the other Hyuga beat, I figured she was your girlfriend. Of course there is that weak pink-haired slut who you also cheered for that could be your girlfriend, but I guess that means Leaf Kunoichi are easy. Naruto said, hardly, babe. Women of Konoha have a class that other women can only dream to reach, and they hold themselves to standards a dirt rubber like you would never be able to claim to have. As for being my girlfriends, nope. They're all Leaf Ninja and we watch out for our own, and anyone who threatens Konoha and her people will have to go through me, and even Kyuubi was fucked when he met me. I was born to protect Konoha. As Naruto and Temari talked, Genma had did hand seals and made it where everything that was said would be amplified for all to hear. Several women blushed when Naruto said they held themselves to higher standards, and then several ninja looked at Naruto with a little respect when he said they took care of their own, and most of the people paled when they heard him talk about Kyuubi, but a few more respected him after that statement, if only a little. Temari was seething at this, and Genma, who was smirking, said, well, as much fun as it was to hear you both verbal battle each other, that's not what we're here for. Naruto said, have to keep our visitor entertained since Kakashi team and Sasuke team will probably be 3 hours late like Kakashi always is. Genma glared and said, quite you. Now, as I was saying, the Chunin selection exam now begins. The first match is between Niji Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki. Would everyone else please leave the arena floor? Temari shot a glare at Naruto as she walked away, leaving Naruto and Niji in the middle of the ring with Genma. Genma said, now the rules are the same as before. You both will fight until your opponent is unable to continue or until I declare a winner, and if you continue to attack after I stop the match, I will deal with you personally. Now the first match begins. Naruto looked bored as he slowly began to walk toward Niji, making everyone blink, and Niji said, you are fated to lose this match. A dead last, like you could never hope to defeat a prodigy like me. Naruto yawned as he kept walking and said, yeah, I'm sexy and you want to see me naked. Making several people spit out their drinks. Hinata eeped as she passed out, and Kiba was rolling on the floor laughing. Sakura slapped her head and said, baka. Tenten was stunned and thought, oh boy, he's fucked. The man who helped Naruto was choking on his soda and thought, "Oh God, that was priceless." Neji activated his eyes and Naruto put his hands in front of his crotch and said, "Do you mind? I'm straight," making more people burst out laughing. Hayashi thought, "The boy has the gall to insult the Hyuga clan." Neji said, "You are within my range of." Naruto interrupted him and said, "Peeping." Neji glared and charged toward Naruto and said, "2 palm, for palm, 8 palm, 16 palm, 32 palm, 64 palm strike." With a smug look on his face that soon frowned, and he looked at Naruto, who yawned after the attack, and he asked, "What? Was that supposed to do something?" Neji asked, "How? I know I hit all 64. How?" As he was wide-eyed. Naruto smirked while Neji was still stunned and grabbed him by the front of his coat, and Neji finally recovered and began to hit Naruto with palm strikes in the face and chest, and Naruto slowly lifted Neji off the ground until he was a foot off the ground, and Neji screamed, "Why are my attacks not working?" Naruto drawn back his hand and said as he started to slap Neji across first the left cheek and then the right and then the left and so on and so forth. With each slap he said, "How dare you beat Hinata like that? You, Jack, you are nothing but an abusive whole who attacks defenseless woman when they can't even stand. If that is what you call prodigy, then am glad am dead last." As he drawn back his fist and punched Neji in the face and knocked her back about 20 feet. Everyone was stunned seeing Neji literally being bitch-slapped. Neji slowly stood up and winced as he rubbed his hand across his face when the Naruto he had been fighting suddenly exploded, knocking Neji back into the wall, knocking him out. Across the field where Naruto had landed earlier was another puff of smoke, and the real Naruto was revealed. Genma blinked and looked back and forward and said, "Winner Naruto Uzumaki." Everyone was stunned and Naruto buffed his fingers against his chest and said, "That was too easy," as he walked over to where the other contestants were. Tenten blinked as everyone began to cheer and thought, "He won. But how?" Genma thought, "Bunshin Bakuha, but how did it survive all those strikes?" Hayashi Hyuga thought, "What was that? It was not originally a Bunshin Bakuha. It originally was a cage bunshin, so how did it change without anyone noticing as well as Ta? It can't be." As he looked at Naruto with his bloodline activated and thought, the cage bunshin absorbed the chakra from Neji's attack to power up before it exploded. But if that is what really happened, then how did he do it? Several ninja around the arena had come to the same conclusion, each looking at Naruto with a little praise. The Sandiame thought, "Very impressive, Naruto. You will have to tell me how you learned such a jutsu, since no one in Konoha could do that. There is that medical jutsu the genin on Kabuto team used, but it can only absorb through direct contact with the skin and burns the amount absorbed equally, making it where he would not have been able to make the clone explode." The Kazekage said, "That is a most impressive technique, Hokage-sama. I was not aware of any such jutsu like that existed." The Sandiame said, "Nor was I. I wonder how he came across it." The Kazekage said, "Perhaps we will find out later." Down in the arena floor, Genma said, "Would Sasuke, Uchiha, and Gaara please come to the arena floor?" Gaara-san shined to the arena floor with his arms crossed, and Genma looked around and Naruto screamed, "You might as well wait. I told you before he would be 3 hours late because Kakashi is always 3 hours late. If you want, I can fight him." Shikamaru said, "Troublesome blondes." Tamari glared and said, "Shut up, both of you." Naruto chuckled and Shikamaru asked, "So how did you do that, Naruto? I mean, how were you able to absorb Neji chakra to cause that clone to explode?" Naruto shrugged and leaned against the wall. Genma frowned and thought, "I can't extend his time because everyone heard me say nobody would get special treatment." The third thought, Kakashi, "I have no choice." With Naruto's statement before the match about getting special treatment that was heard by some of the audience, and his statement just now, the feudal lord is going to demand an answer why I changed the rules for him, and with Orochimaru here, I have to keep the Sharingan out of his hands. And he stood up, walking to the edge of the balcony and said, "Honored guest. Since Sasuke Uchiha has not shown up for his match and dishonored himself, the village, and you, he will lose the chance at promotion in the exams." The Kazekage said, "Surely we could extend him some time since I wanted to see his match." The third said, "I realize that and I do have a plan, so please wait." As he turned back to the audience who were starting to get loud, and he said, "Now, since so many of you have come to see him fight, I have decided that he will fight the winner of the exam but will not be allowed to be promoted." As he turned and sat back down, the Kazekage thought, "This is bad. I wanted Sasuke here where my men could make sure he did not die in the invasion. I will have to hold it off until he arrives." Ganma down below said, "Winner Gaara." Gaara glared at Ganma and shoeshined back to the balcony, and Temari frowned and Kankuro whispered, "What should we do? I can't fight because I have to save it for the plan." Genma said, "Would Shino, Abirame, and Kankuro please come to the arena floor?" Kankuro said, "I forfeit," making several people boo. Naruto, Shino, and Shikamaru looked at the Tsunagenin, and Naruto said, "Shino, Shikamaru, can I talk to both of you for a second?" As he walked over to the corner. Shikamaru and Shino both walked over, and Naruto said, "I don't know what's going on, but when I was talking with the old man earlier, I noticed something wrong with the Kazekage. All the skin on his face was dead, and I don't mean worn out or anything like that. I mean it was dead and starting to decompose." Shino said, "My bugs don't like the chakra of Gaara. It is like yours used to be, Naruto." Naruto eyes got wide, and Shikamaru said, "What should we do? Something doesn't feel right about this." Naruto said, "Looks like it's time for your match, Shikamaru." Shikamaru nods and said, "I forfeit," making everyone in the crowd boo, and Naruto asked, "Why?" in a hiss voice. Shikamaru said, "If there is something going on here, then I will need my chakra later, so I will conserve it. Are you sure you can beat Gaara?" Naruto said, "Yeah, but I don't know how good I will be after that match." Shikamaru looked at Shino, who said, "You take care of Gaara. I will take care of Kankuro, and Shikamaru will take care of Temari if things really do go wrong here." Naruto said, "Right. I don't like this, but I got the feeling things are very wrong here." As Temari made it back to the balcony, Temari screamed, "Why did you forfeit, you lazy bum?" Shikamaru said, "Simple troublesome woman. Leaf ninja, watch our own. You crossed the line with one of ours, so one of ours will cross the line with you. Right, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Yes, Shikamaru. I just wonder if she will even get to me when Shino lets his bugs go on her." As he jumped over the rail and hit the ground hard, creating a small crater about 5 feet wide. Up in the stand, Ino screamed, "What is that lazy bum doing? He could beat that sand bitch." Sakura shook her head and said, "It has to be male egos." Asuma narrowed his eyes as he heard Shikamaru deceleration, and he said, "Something's going on here. He didn't quit to let Naruto deal with her. He quit to conserve his chakra. That Kankuro kid did it as well. You think they know something we don't?" As he looked at Kurenai beside him. Kurenai said, "I agree. Look at Shino's jacket. He has uncuffed his sleeves so he can release his hive faster, and they are standing where they can see the 2 genin from Suna. They must know about the possible attack today and suspect Suna." As she started to look around the area at each of the ninja from Suna in the crowd. Shikaku and Shibi both narrowed their eyes at their sons and reached the same conclusion. Shibi began to send bugs down the arm of the chair toward the Sunanins to drain them of their chakra. As both Naruto and Gaara stood across from each other, Gamma said, "I hope you both are ready. Fight." As he jumped back. Gaara said, "Mother said you strong. Mother wants your blood." As the cork on Gaara gourd popped out and onto the ground, and soon sand started to fly out of his gourd and circle around Gaara. Naruto waited until the sand suddenly lunged at him as he saw it had done against Lee, and he quickly raised his right arm, and an explosion hit the sand that was charging toward Naruto, and Naruto was on the move running toward the walls of the arena. Gaara, who had momentarily stopped his attack from the explosion, sent his sand out after Naruto, who was now sticking to the wall, and as the sand started to reach up to grab him, Naruto raised his right arm again, and a slight glint was reflected, and a few people saw a sunbon needle heading toward Gaara while Naruto was running full speed across the wall with the sand chasing him, when an explosion hit where Gaara was standing and the sand stopped and ran back toward Gaara. Everyone looked at Gaara as the smoke from the explosion cleared and saw the sand armor around him repairing itself while Gaara was whispering to himself. Naruto glanced and thought, "You were right, Eva. His sand attacks would withdraw to protect Gaara when an immediate threat is present. Those rocket senbon needles are good, but it appears that he has a second defense that I didn't really know about and was able to save him. What do you suggest?" Eva said, "According to sonar scans, there is a pipe 20 yards east of your position that has water in it. I will target the spot on your HUD, and once you have the water you can use that jutsu." Naruto saw a marker appear on his vision and he saw the sand was charging him again, so he started to run around the wall with the sand chasing him again, and when he was across from them he raised his right arm again and another senbon fired from his arm, though to everyone 3 feet away or more it appeared as if it just appeared out of thin air and flew across the stadium, hitting the wall and caused the wall to blow open with water spraying lightly out of the wall. Up in the audience stand, Ino asked, "How is he making those explosions, Sakura?" Sakura said, "I don't know, Ino." A voice that caught their attention from a few seatbacks said, "Exploding senbon needles." As both girl looked and saw Tenten, Ino said, "Hey, you're that girl from the exams." Tenten said, "And you're both the banshees who had more of a cat fight than a ninja fight." Sakura said, "So you know how Naruto is doing that then?" Tenten said, "I know part of it. I saw them as they flew, but what I don't know is how he is launching them or even carrying them, since he is not throwing them and I don't see any weapon pouches. He might have them under a genjutsu, but I don't think so since I have not been able to dispel one." Naruto smirked as he jumped off the wall he was running on and began to flash through hand seals and said, "Hidden mist no jutsu," as the water began to quickly form a mist that covered the entire arena floor. Gaara was looking around for Naruto and he had the sand begin to form a ball around him. Above the fog, an eye of sand appeared in mid-air. Naruto, who was hiding in the fog, thought, "What now?" Eva said, "Radar has picked up an object floating in the air above the mist. Based on the display, I believe it is a viewing orb of some kind to spy on you. I believe destroying it would be beneficial." Naruto nods and thought, "Do you have the location of Gaara?" Eva said, "Switching to inferred and ultraviolet." The HUD screen Naruto was looking out switched from normal to red and purple, overlapping each other, and Naruto saw 2 shapes, with one being inside a dome, and Naruto thought, "That must be him. Do you think that can piece that shell?" Eva was quiet for several seconds and said, "Using a 40% charge should work." Naruto glanced at the power reading in the top right corner and saw it slowly increasing from 60%, and he frowned and thought, "But that means I have to lose my cloaking shield." Eva said, "Correct." Naruto sighed and thought, "Do it." The cloak around Naruto dropped, revealing him in his armor, and Naruto raised his left arm toward where the dome was in the mist and held his palm up as a blue jewel in the glove started to glow with chakra. Everyone tensed as they felt massive chakra beginning to build. The third tensed as he felt this, as did the Kazekage. Naruto thought, "Eva, as soon as you have enough power to restore the cloak, do it." As he saw the power reading on the side decreasing down to 20% left, and Naruto jerked his wrist that he was holding up and a blue shock wave of chakra shot out of the jewel. Gaara floating, I saw the chakra heading toward Gaara's shell, and the sand around the shell began to thicken as the shock wave struck the shell. An explosion rocked the entire stadium, blowing dust and dirt into the area and blowing most of the mist away. As the dust began to clear, 2 figures could be seen in the dust cloud, but nobody could see anything about the 2. Finally, the head of Gaara could be seen, which was halfway covered in sand and his eye looking dull. As the smoke began to clear, all anyone could see was blue light shining through the dirt until the light dissipated and the body of Naruto was seen standing there panting, and he said, "Note to self, get more range for 40% and reinforce my arms with chakra to withstand the kickback." As he fell to one knee panting, holding his left shoulder. Ginma looked at the 2 and thought, "Just what the fuck was that?" Gaara looked down and he touched his chest that was bleeding and asked, "What is this? Is it my blood?" As he grabbed his head and the sand began to cover his entire body. The ground began to vibrate as the dirt began to slowly spin, and Naruto said, "That can't be good." As suddenly a huge hand of sand began to form and tried to close around Naruto, who said, "Shit," as he crouched down and jumped in the air quickly with the hand shooting after him. In the crowd, the Suna ninja were beginning to get worried when Gaara screamed out about his blood. Temari and Kankuro both looked on with worry for Gaara. Up in the Kage box, the Sandiame looked at the Kazekage, who looked at him, and one of the Suna guards went to move forward to kill the guard of the Sandiame, when suddenly something blew through the floor, intercepting the kunai that was heading for the guard, and everyone looked and noticed Naruto, who was panting, and he said, "Look out." And suddenly the entire flooring broke apart as the Kazekage was sent flying into the air, as the huge fist of sand came flying through the floor, and each of the ninja quickly jumped away with Naruto beside the Hokage. At that moment, all hell broke loose. Down on the floor, the body of Shikaku was forming with the arm already formed. The Sandiame, who landed on a piece of the now ruined Kage box, asked, "Are you all right, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Yeah, but I don't know how many more of those sand fists I can take. I'm going to see if I can lure Gaara outside the village to try and keep people from being hurt." The Sandiame frowned and said, "Are you sure, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Trust me." As he jumped into the air and to the shock of the sandium, Naruto hovered over the still-forming sand demon, and he raised his right wrist and 10 senbon launched out of it, hitting the sand, making it explode, drawing attention from the yellow eyes that had now formed. Naruto said, "Oi, ugly, follow me." As he began to fly away from the village backwards, Shikaku, who had now finished forming with Gaara awake on top of its head, and he screamed, "I shall have your blood for mother," as he began to chase Naruto, slowly destroying a section of the stadium wall. Naruto saw Gaara sitting on top of the sand body and then saw as several explosions rocked around the village and thought, if I can take out Gaara I can't help the village, but I guess I have no choice. I am going to hit the head of that thing with every ounce of controlled chakra I have left. When I hit the ground, seal all armor and I will use my regular chakra. Good thing we found out that the guy who gave this to me didn't want me dying by running out of power, huh? Eva said, I understand and will work on recharging the power cell as quickly as possible. After that, what are your orders? Naruto said, when fully recharged, restore stealth shield and armor. Eva said, Roger, 12 minutes from deactivation till full recharge. Don't die in those 12 minutes. Diverting all power to hand thrust cannon. Naruto felt his speed dropping as he saw Gaara and the sand demon getting closer, and he started to lose his thrust to keep to the air as his armor appeared, and he pointed his left arm at the head of Shikaku, and Eva said, now. And Naruto snapped his wrist, and the glowing jewel in his left hand fired a massive ball of chakra that was over 40 feet wide at the head of Shikaku, blasting the head into billions of pieces as Gaara lost the body that was holding him in the air the sand construct of. Shikaku quickly began to fall apart as Gaara fell toward the ground below. Some sand caught up with him and began to protect him. However, as he hit the ground, he hit a tree he had broke as Shikaku, and a branch went through his side just and stuck through him until over 5 feet of it was sticking out covered in blood. Shikaku, inside of Gaara, faced with trying to get revenge or survive, quickly began to try and keep Gaara alive. Naruto, after he fired the shot, recoiled and began to spin uncontrollably, and he bounced against several branches until he hit the ground hard. As the armor disappeared, Naruto's head was seen bleeding from smacking against the armor during the fall as he moaned, before he passed out. When Naruto awoke a little later, he groaned and thought, my body. As he went to push himself off the ground and screamed out, "Oh, fuck my arm." As he instantly grabbed his left arm and began rolling, trying to keep any and all pressure off it. After several minutes, he finally got enough control to slowly sit up, and he moved his knees under him and slowly stood up, wincing while he still held his left arm. He looked around and saw a path through the tree limbs that were broken, and he thought, now I know how a pinball feels. Eva, you there? Eva's voice said, yes. Naruto winced and thought, can you be a little quieter? My head is killing me. Eva said, is this better? In a quieter voice. Naruto thought, yeah, so what's the status and how long was I out? Eva said, it has been 4 hours since your fight with Gaara, and currently you are only at 25% power total. Naruto blinked and thought, run that by me again. I got the 4-hour part, but what do you mean I am only at 25%? I should be fully recovered by now. Eva was quiet for several moments and said, based on my scans of your body over the past 3 weeks, I have a several explanation that could be correct, but I am unable to determine which is true at the moment, but all seem to point at one thing. You are not receiving any chakra from the Kyuubi. The two most promising explanations are that either the Kyuubi somehow is able to stop his chakra from being sent to you, or something is blocking the Kyuubi chakra from entering your system. Naruto frowned and looked around and thought, and you only discovered this now? Eva said, the reason I was not able to identify this problem before was because your chakra system was already loaded with large amounts of Kyuubi chakra. Over the past 3 weeks, you have been slowly using what was in your system originally before receiving me, and it has taken till now to use it all up. However, this does bring some good news. Naruto thought, I don't see how anything right now could be really good news with as much pain as I am in now. No fox chakra means my healing is slow, which is why I am so damaged. How bad am I right now anyways? Eva said, your entire left arm is shattered into 20 pieces and your left shoulder is disconnected. You have 3 cracked ribs and a concussion. Naruto sweat drop and thought, and the good news? Eva said, now that all of the fox chakra is out of your coils, only purified control chakra will be in your coils, which will increase your control. Naruto shook his head and winced and said, add a crick in my neck to that list. Which way is it back to the village, and where is Gaara? Wait a minute, where is the armor, Eva? As he looked at himself and noticed the power cell under his shirt. Eva said, due to your injuries, I believe turning on the armor would only cause more injury at this time. However, I can activate the chest armor to hide the power cell if you would like. As for Gaara, he should be a mile east of your location, and the village is 2 miles south of that. Naruto thought, Give me what you can on the armor because I don't want to reveal it if I can. Naruto saw the armor appear and then cloak on his chest and he winced and thought, good call on the armor, Eva. Hold off on any more until I can get my arm and head checked. As he began to walk east very slowly. 20 minutes later Naruto saw a huge field of sand, and he looked around and saw Gaara sticking with a tree limb through his side, and he winced as he saw the blood that had ran down it and dried, and Naruto said, "Oi, you dead?" Gaara groaned a little and Naruto said, "Not dead, just hanging, huh?" Gaara tried to turn his head and he asked, "Have you come to kill me?" Naruto saw Gaara looking at him and said, "No, but if you stay like that too long you will die." Gaara said, "Mother has said the same thing but is unable to get me down without causing me to bleed to death." Naruto blinked and said, "You talked a lot about your mother. Where is she?" Gaara was quite a moment and said, "Mother is inside me. Mother has been with me since father sealed mother into me." Naruto's eyes got wide a moment and softened and said, "You're a Jinchuriki, aren't you? You have a demon inside of you." Gaara said, "Yes, Ichibi no Shikaku." Naruto said, "I know how you feel, Gaara. I have the Kyuubi no Kitsune in me. The pain, it hurts to see those looks and hear their words, to always feel alone." As he looked into Gaara's eyes, Gaara asked, "If you really do have the Kyuubi in you, why do you not just kill them all and prove your existence?" Naruto walked slowly over and sat down beside the limb Gaara was on and said, "Because it would never change anything and would not ever prove my existence as me. It would only show people that I was Kyuubi instead of Naruto Uzumaki. Besides, no matter how strong Kyuubi or Shikaku are, we are stronger than they are. After all, they are our prisoners. We are in charge of them, so we are the stronger of them. If we die, they die, but if they die, we don't die. They need us to live, but we don't need them." Gaara sat there thinking for several minutes and said, "How are you stronger than Kyuubi? Because I am weak to Shikaku. If I go to sleep, he devours my soul. How can I become stronger?" Naruto winced as he shifted his left arm and said, "Find something that is precious to you. Your sibling, your village, your friends, and protect them with everything you have. Only when you protect what is precious to you can you ever find true strength, Gaara. Someone very wise and very strong once told me that, and I honestly believe it." A voice Naruto recognized said, "Well said, Naruto." Naruto turned and saw the Sandaime walking toward him with 4 Anbu and said, "Hey Gigi, this is Gaara. He's a Jinchuriki also, but he said he can't ever go to sleep or Shikaku eats his soul. Think you might be able to help him?" The third looked at Gaara and said, "I will see what I can do. You are the youngest son of the Kazekage, right?" Gaara said, "Yes." The third said, "I hate to tell you this, but it appears that Suna was tricked into attacking our village because we found the face of your father peeled away and left on the ground after the battle. We believe Orochimaru killed him. Your village and the Sound Village have both fled, but your siblings are here, and they are currently in jail until we can get this mess figured out. Are you willing to surrender so we can get you some medical care and I can have a look at your seal?" Gaara looked at Naruto and Naruto said, "Trust him, Gaara. He's one of my precious people, and if you want you can be one also. Friends." Gaara said, "I have never had friends before." Naruto said, "Well, you got one now, how about it?" Gaara said, "Very well, but my sand is not completely under my control. Shikaku is screaming for me to kill you all right now." The third turned and said, "Search the village and find Jiraiya and bring him here. Hurry." The Anbu left and Naruto said, "Can Jiraiya help Gaara Gigi?" The third said, "If anyone can, he can. After all, he trained your father." Naruto smiled and said, "Then maybe he can fix mine also. For some reason Kyuubi chakra cut off from me right now. It might have been when that snake guy hit me in the forest of death in the stomach before I passed out now that I think about it." The third frowned and said, "Let me see you seal Naruto." Naruto reached for his shirt and said, "Oh shit. Can we wait until later? Somewhere more private?" The third narrowed his eyes and asked, "Does this have something to do with why you could fly?" Naruto said, Yeah. I was told not to show anyone because people will try and figure it out, which would result in me dying. Some kind of failsafe, I think is what Eva called it." The third asked, "Who's Eva Naruto?" Naruto said, Let's just say that I have a voice in my head now, but it's not Kyuubi. Hell, she's not even really alive either for that." The third frowned and said, "Very well, but I want to hear everything later, Naruto." Naruto said, "Okay. Can you quiet down a little though? I got a concussion. My left shoulder's dislocated. My left arm is shattered into 20 pieces and I have 3 cracked ribs. The third frowned and said, I will have to get you to the hospital then. Naruto said, no please. No hospital. I can't take the chance someone finds out about this. The third frowned and was about to speak when all 4 ANBU returned with Kakashi and Jiraiya. Naruto looked at Kakashi and frowned as he looked away and his eyes dulled. The third saw this and asked, what are you doing here, Kakashi? I don't remember requesting you. Kakashi said, I was with Jiraiya when the ANBU informed him that you were here with Naruto, so I came to check on my student. The third said, he is being taken care of, so you may go and help with the cleanup. Now. Naruto winced as he grabbed his head and Kakashi frowned and glanced at Naruto and left. The third waited a few minutes and said, he's gone now. Jiraiya glanced at Naruto and at Gaara and asked, what do you need, sensei? I was on my way to do some research. The third said, I need you to look at Gaara here's seal. He is the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi, and it appears that the seal is unstable, so for the safety of the village, I need it controlled before I can get him medical help. Jiraiya joking mood changed and said, all right, let me see you seal kid. Gaara looked at Naruto and Naruto said, if Gigi says he's okay then I trust him, Gaara. Besides, he is my godfather. Jiraiya glared at the Sandaime who said, he already knew who his father was before today, so I had to inform him about his mother and you. He won't tell anyone, so don't worry. Jiraiya sighed and said, we can talk later, kid. As Gaara's sand receded off his body and Gaara pulled his shirt to the side to show the seal on his chest. Naruto said, don't worry about it. At least you had a good reason to not be here for me and sent money, so I could live unlike Kakashi team who thinks I am not worth his time. Jiraiya's face turned to a scowl and said, I think I will have a few words with him later, sensei. The third said, I will as well. Do you remember anything that pale-skinned man said when he hit your stomach, Naruto? Jiraiya, who was looking at the seal on Gaara's chest, listened in and Naruto said, let me think a minute. After I was ate by that giant snake and used Kagebunshin to make it explode, I ran to where Sasuke and Sakura was. When I got there, Sasuke was shaking and threw our scroll to the snake guy saying he would give it up if he let us live. I could tell the guy was going to kill us, so I took the scroll and called Sasuke a coward and asked what was to keep him from killing us after he got the scroll. The snake guy said that he was surprised I survived his pet and he attacked me, and I blanketed the area with Kagebunshin and I destroyed 3 mud clones of him before he decided to use this big snake that tried to eat Sasuke team and Sakura, but I jumped in front of them pissed and crushed the snake's skull with a kunai and my fist. After that, the snake guy used his tongue to hold me in the air by my neck and his fingers glowed different color and he said something about 5-star, but I didn't hear the rest because it hurt and I passed out. The ANBU who were nearby were shocked with what they heard, and the third said, I see. I think I know what he used on you, and when we get back to my office we will take care of it. Jiraiya said, I can take care of it after I finish with this kid here. It appears whoever did his sealing did a fucked up job on purpose. They put a 3-star seal with a berserker seal. I can fix it, but it will hurt a few minutes and you will pass out afterwards, but you won't have to worry about the demon anymore. Gaara said, I would appreciate it, because I need to protect my siblings and my home. Naruto said, when you get back, since you should try and be Kazekage, so that way when I become Hokage our villages can be friends again and we won't let anyone trick us again. How's that sound? Gaara was silent a few moments as Jiraiya worked on the seal and said, yes. I will become Kazekage so I can protect my friend and his precious people. The third smiled at this and said, I think that's the fastest peace negotiation I have ever seen. Don't you agree, Jiraiya? Jiraiya said, no. The fastest was when I asked Tsunadeheim out for drinks, and she sent me flying with her super strength. The third chuckled and asked, will you ever learn? Jiraiya said, never. You ready, kid? Gaara nods and Jiraiya's fingers glowed, and he slammed them into what he'd drawn on Gaara's chest, and Gaara screamed out before he passed out, and Jiraiya waited a moment and said, he's okay, but the sand that is keeping him from bleeding to death is falling away, so you better get him to the hospital and fast. The third said, ANBU, take him to the hospital for immediate care and do not leave his sight for anything until I come for him. No one else is that understood. All 4 nod and they cut the limb that was holding him in place and shoeshined away. The third said, meet us in my office. As he placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder and Naruto winced and the third switched shoulders and said, sorry, before they shoeshined away. Jiraiya looked around and shoeshined away also. When he arrived in the Hokage office he asked, so what's up? The third looked at Naruto who asked, Are you sure that no one can see or hear anything because I can't risk anyone finding out? I don't even know if I should show you, but I got no choice since I need help. The third closed the window blinds and Jiraiya locked the door, and the third sent chakra to a seal on the desk, and the room glowed a moment, and the third said, "All right, this room is secure now, Naruto. What's going on and how were you flying?" Jiraiya blinked and Naruto said, "Eva, stealth shield deactivate." The Sandame and Jiraiya blinked when suddenly a set of armor appeared on Naruto's chest and Naruto said, "Seal armor." And the armor disappeared and the third and Jiraiya eyes both narrowed as they saw something bulge on Naruto's chest under his shirt. The third asked, "What is that, Naruto?" Naruto reached for his shirt and winced as he pulled it off and both men gasped and Jiraiya moved over and asked, "What happened to you?" As he looked at all the seal lines running along Naruto's body and into the device that was built into Naruto's chest. Naruto said, "The day of the preliminary after Kakashi told me I wasn't worth his time, I was pissed and said something about finding a way to beat Sasuke in the exams even if I had to use Kyuubi or something like that because I was so pissed, and when I was leaving a guy pulled me into a hospital room and asked if I was really that pissed and felt I had to use the fox for people to see that I am not just a worthless piece of trash, and since I was still pissed I said yeah, and he asked if I had another option, one that could kill me if it failed, would I take it, and I told him yeah. He gave me a business card with a house address wrote on the back and told me to meet him there at 8. I did, and he took me into the cellar and told me a story about how he knew who my dad was and how dad had saved his wife and his life once when they ran away from Snow Country, and how because dad saved them he sent Kakashi team to warn the king about his brother's betray. I don't really remember it all because I was getting really tired and my head was hurting as he talked, and he told me how him and his wife created the original prototype for snow armor and how he wanted to give it to me before he told me that my dad was the Yonde Minato Namikaze, and he called me Naruto Namikaze before I passed out. When I woke up I was alone on a table in that room and a week had passed by and I had the snow armor, which is both metallurgy or something like that and cyber. Rebit something? I can't say those words, Eva. As he heard Eva in his head. The third said, metallurgy and cybernetic robotics. Naruto said, yeah, those words. The third frowned and asked, so what exactly is that thing in your chest, Naruto? Naruto said, it's the power source for the armor, and it also purifies both the Kyuubi chakra and mine, giving me more control over my chakra. Eva, the voice that explains all this stuff to me and also helps me with understand better, said now that my body is completely clean of all the leftover Kyuubi chakra, that all the rest of the chakra from Kyuubi and me will be the purified controlled chakra that will allow me to use jutsu better without wasting as much chakra. She taught me water walking and also that hidden mist jutsu in the past 3 weeks, along with how to fly, how to use the exploding rocket senbon, and we did a few test runs on the thrust cannon. The third asked, how come no one has reported to me about you using these? Naruto said, oh, that's easy. Once I figured out the basic of flying in about 3 hours in the woods behind the Hokage monument, I went back to Wave Country and visited Inari and his family. Tsunami, a great cook, and did you know they actually named their bridge the Great Naruto Bridge after me? I used 80% of my chakra going there, but it only cost me 60% on the way back last night because I had learned water walking. The third frowned and said, you should have told me you were leaving Naruto and I could have sent someone with you. Naruto blinked and said, didn't your secretary give you my letter? I know my... Wait, how did I know my clone gave her that letter? As he rubbed his head. The third frowned and said, I see. I will duh. As Naruto put his hands together several times, wincing in pain before he got them in almost the right position, and said, Kagebunshin no Jutsu. And 2 clones appeared and one looked sick, and Naruto said, damn. Now I am back down to 10%. You, the good one, go read something in a book real quick and dispel yourself. The clone walked over to the bookshelf and grabbed a book and opened it, and the clone fainted going up in smoke, and Naruto's nose began to bleed and said, ew. Who wrote that crap? Who would want to read what Ellen and Carol did with John? Jiraiya said, hey Gaki, I wrote that. As he hit Naruto on the head, making Naruto wince and rub his head, and said, you wrote that perverted crap? Jiraiya said, yes I did. I am the author of the Ika Paradise books. Naruto said, ah, you're the guy Kakashi jacks off to and why he is 3 hours late. Making both adults sweat drop, Naruto said, anyways, it looks like anything a Kagebunshin learns goes back to the original. Why don't you use them to do your paperwork, Gigi? The third blinked and blinked again as he hit his head on the desk and screamed, all that time wasted. As he created 2 clones and had them began to read the scrolls on the desk. The third, after he created the clones, said, anyways, Jiraiya, check the Kyuubi seal and those others and see what they do. Jiraiya nods and said, channel your chakra. Naruto did, and Jiraiya said, well, you got a 5-star seal and I can fix that easy. Hold still. As he held his hand out and it glowed 5 colors before he slammed it over Naruto's stomach and Naruto screamed, "Shit, that hurt." As everyone saw the blue in the crystal on Naruto's chest turn red a moment before it turned pink and then blue, and Eva said, 20, 25, 30, 35%. The filter will not let any more through until your body creates more of your chakra. And Naruto said, well, that's cool. I am up to 35% now, but it won't let no more of Kyuubi chakra in until my body makes more of my own chakra. Jiraiya said, impressive work here. Whoever did this to you had put a lot of time and thought into it, Naruto. They gave you an extra set of gates in your body to restrict the amount of Kyuubi chakra going into the filter at a time. They were not a seal master since they used so many basic seals to do what they done, but I can see they wanted to help you as much as they could. Interesting. They put up several mental blockers also to keep you from being influenced by Kyuubi chakra should the Kyuubi ever try to break free. I would like to compare notes on a few things with whoever did this. What did you say his name was and what did he look like? As he looked at Naruto. Naruto said he had brown hair and brown eyes and he is about as tall as Kakashi, but he never told me his name. Just that his wife died giving birth to a daughter and that dad gave them new names and lives to hide them from the guy in Snow Country. The third asked, how are your injuries? Naruto said, my head is feeling a little better and my ribs are not hurting as bad by I can't tell anything in my arm. Jiraiya looked at Naruto's arm and said, Sensei, his arm is severely damaged. I don't think anyone here in Konoha can fix it and it will never heal on its own. How did you break it so bad? Naruto said, the thrust cannon. I usually only use 5 or 10% when using it and I can blow up a tree at that much, but when I was fighting Gaara and Shikaku I used first 40% and then I used around 55% while in the air to blow Shikaku head off and it worked, but then I crashed through some trees since I had no power left and hit the ground hard before passing out. If it wasn't for my armor, though, I probably would have died. The third was silent for a moment and said, Naruto, do you think you can travel? Naruto said, yeah, but not flying or tree hopping. Why? The third said, first, for valor above and beyond the call of duty and for strategic thinking I promote Naruto Uzumaki to the rank of Chunin and now you are Jiraiya new apprentice. I am giving you both an S-rank mission to track down Tsunade and bring her back to Konoha to become the Godame Hokage and to also fix Naruto's arm. Everything that was said here is now a secret to only the 3 of us and will remain so. Naruto's eyes were wide. Hearing he made Chunin and then the Godame part and started to say something when Eva said, don't do it. Just say thank you for your faith in me and you accept. Naruto thought, but why? Eva said, because you don't want them thinking you are a weak idiot but a respected ninja, right? The third and Jiraiya saw Naruto's face change expressions several times and he sighed and said, thank you for your faith in me, and I accept the promotion of Chunin and I accept the mission. When do we leave Erosanin? Causing the third to chuckle and Jiraiya to faceplant. Jiraiya said, don't call me that, Gaki, and we can leave as soon as you're packed. Naruto said, everything I own is on my back. Someone robbed me again while I was away, so I don't have anything in my apartment beside tore up furniture. Jiraiya shot the third a glare and he said, right, well, hide your... What should we call that thing? Naruto said, core. I should tell you both that if this thing is destroyed I will die. Eva, give me full armor except my left shoulder and arm. Both adults saw as Naruto's body was covered in armor that was red and gold before it cloaked, and Naruto said, damn. I only got 150 Senbon left, so I will have to get some more. Jiraiya asked, does it matter what kind of Senbon? Naruto said, standard Senbon. Somehow the launcher in my right wrist automatically engraves the seal and charges them when they are launched. I can only launch 10 a second though. Causing both men's eyes to go wide. The third asked, how many can you carry? Naruto said, 500. I think that is a fair trade-off for the shurikens and kunais I don't use anymore. I can hit a target at 100 yards within 2 inches at that distance. The third asked, is this Eva going to teach you anything else? Naruto said, not unless I spend some time in snow. Eva only knows 20 jutsu counting water walking and the hidden mist jutsu. The rest are snow jutsu since this armor was originally the prototype for Snow Country Ninja to be able to better protect their home, but that Dota guy had other plans. Luckily, they didn't get all the info on this suit, but only pieces from the guy who survived meeting Dad. The third reached into a drawer and tossed Jiraiya a scroll and said, that is your Chunin vest once you can put it on. Jiraiya, there will be no research on this mission. You are to find Tsunade and get him healed. I received word from Weasel and he said they are starting to move and he will be making an inspection of the target soon. Jiraiya's eyes were wide and said, I see. Come on, kid. We got a lot of things to do in a short amount of time. Naruto said, sure, as he followed in step behind Jiraiya. After they were gone, the third deactivated the security seal and said, ANBU. For ANBU appeared and he said, get me Shino Aburame, Shikamaru Nara, and Hatake Kakashi. The four nod and left in swirls of leaves as the third pulled out two more scroll like the one he gave Jiraiya. Jiraiya said, we need to come up with a code name for you when you're not hiding like you are now in that thing. Naruto frowned and asked, like what? Jiraiya saw a picture of a man lifting weights and said, how about Iron Man? Naruto blinked as he looked at Jiraiya and then asked, what the hell are you on and do you have any more of it? It might help with the pain in my arm right now. Jiraiya raised his hand to hit Naruto and said, damn it, probably break my hand on that steel head of yours if I did it. Naruto smirked and said, besides, nobody is going to find out about this because I am not telling anyone else. Jiraiya this time did hit the back of Naruto's head and said, baka. Eventually everyone will find out about it. We live in a world where everyone are masters of finding out secrets, and once they do they will beat your ass every time you turn around. You have no idea exactly what you did by pulling this stunt, do you? Naruto saw a few people looking at them and said, let's go Ero-sanin and find this lady. I don't want the rumor mill around here spread word about you trying to hook me up with some hooker when I don't want to have sex. Getting several glares at Jiraiya from the woman close by. Jiraiya ignored them and started to follow Naruto toward the gate and said, nice distraction for now, brat, but you're still going to hear what I have to say when we make camp tonight. Until then, I want to test your observation skills. You remember everything you see and hear until we make camp, and I will ask questions then about what we saw. Naruto said, great. In a sarcastic tone as Jiraiya said to the Chunin at the gate, Jiraiya of the Sannin and Chunin Uzumaki leaving for a mission. Come on, brat. As he began to lead the way from the village. Both guards looked at each other and said, congrats, Naruto. Naruto blinked and said, damn. How the hell do you both always get the shitty jobs? First that stunt at the first exam and now this. Jiraiya's voice said, come on, brat. We are in a hurry, remember? Naruto sighed and said, well, you heard him. Thanks, by the way. It's nice to know someone here appreciates me. Kotetsu said, when you get back, how about we celebrate welcoming you into the ranks? Then you can learn that this right here is considered D rank for Chunins. Naruto said, too bad I got an S rank right now. See ya. As he tried to run to catch Jiraiya. Kotetsu frowned as he saw Naruto run away and said, Izumo, what's wrong with that picture? Izumo said, his arm. Something's wrong with it, the way he's guarding it. Think he was injured in the invasion earlier. Kotetsu said, I'm not sure, but the ANBU have said it was him who took out that sand creature that appeared. Apparently they're spreading word amongst the ranks, anyone fucks with him, they won't wake up when the ANBU find out. He changed a lot of people's views today. Izumo said, about time too. I heard a rumor he is a national hero in Wave Country right now. Kotetsu said, really? I hadn't heard that yet. Izumo said, yeah, some hunter came through about a week ago looking for bounties in that area and said they named this huge bridge that connects Wave to the Fire Country after him. Kotetsu smirked and said, give them hell, kid. Izumo chuckled and said, so which one is it this time, Kurenai or Anko? Kotetsu put his hand on his chin and said, actually, I think it's Yugugo this time. Izumo said, maybe this will give her a chance to blow off some steam also since Hyatt died. Kotetsu said, yeah, welcoming new Chunin to the ranks with a night of drinking and then a pantai raid on one of the deadliest women in our ranks. Poor Irika hasn't went toward another woman since he raided Anko. Making both men shiver before they burst out laughing. In the Hokage office, the third had two Kagebunshin doing paperwork while he looked out over the village when two puffs of smoke appeared and he looked back and said, ah, Shikamaru and Shino. I want to thank you both for coming so quickly with recent events. Now I am sure you both are wondering what I called you for. The answer is simple. Based on what I have seen and heard from the ninja in the stadium, had it not been for both your actions, then we would have had a lot more casualties than we did. Your father Shino sent his hives discreetly through the crowd and drained the sand ninja to where they only had enough chakra left not to pass out before everything went to hell, and then he quickly knocked them out, and your father Shikamaru sent his shadow to all the sand ninja near him, and when the battle started they could not move and Inoichi and Chuzo was able to kill them quickly. Both your sensei also noticed and discreetly informed other Chunin and Jounin near them, so when the attack happened nearly all the Suna ninja were taken out in the first 20 seconds of the battle. While this was going on, both of you worked together to capture and drain the two Suna siblings that you then tied up and secured, giving us several political prisoners. Shino said, we would not have been fully prepared had Naruto not informed us about something being wrong with the Kazekage, increasing our suspicion that something was not right. The third said, yes, Naruto informed me also, and I was able to send a message to Ibiki alerting him to begin the civilian evacuation, and it was nearly complete when the battle started, which is why we only have a small section of the village damaged. Shikamaru said, plus Naruto taking out that sand creature Gaara turned into. The third said, yes. If it was not for Naruto, then odds are a lot of good people would have died today. I know some died and several are injured, but nowhere near the number that it could have been if we had not been alerted that Suna was also involved, which is why I am promoting all three of you to Chunin. Naruto has already received his vest and is on a very important mission right now. Shino asked, why is his blood in this room, Hokage-sama? My hives detect his blood here and fresh. The third sighed and said, Naruto received several injuries during his battle with Gaara, one of which may end his shinobi career if the person they are going to get can't repair the damage done. Making both boys' eyes wide. Shikamaru said, and you sent him injured on this mission not only to see if Tsunade, who is the only one with the skills that surpass those in Konoha, so she would heal his injuries, but also to protect him should some of the villagers decide to take advantage of him while he is weak. Correct. Shino said that is the most logical explanation. Their hatred for the Kyuubi would cause some to think this would be a good time to get revenge. As he pushed his sunglasses up. The third as well as the two ANBU in the room were wide-eyed, and the third asked, how do you both know about that? Shikamaru smirked and said, until just now we only suspected honestly. Shino and I have both seen how Naruto was cast aside by others in the village, and after researching we learned his birthday was October 10th, the day of the Kyuubi attack, separately of course. Then recently when I went to visit Choji in the hospital for overeating, I ran into Shino, who had been visiting Hinata, and Shino hives detected Gaara-sand, and we followed the bug to Lee room where I used my shadow possession jutsu to capture him while Shino tried to drain him of his chakra since he was about to kill Lee. He then told us about how he had an incarnate of sand inside of him and how his birth killed his mother and how his father tried to assassinate him. Then Gai-sensei showed up and Gaara left, but as we were leaving, Shino commented how Gaara chakra was like Naruto, and we discussed what we knew and researched, and we both believe that Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, and we also both believe that he is the son of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, since he is basically a carbon copy of him. Until we saw and heard your reaction a moment ago, all we had was a belief, but now we know that we are right about the Kyuubi. The third sighed and said, yes, you are both correct on that. I passed a law that no one was allowed to speak about the Kyuubi and its true fate so that Naruto could try and live a normal life. However, his life has hardly been normal. You both cannot tell anyone because it is an S-class secret. In fact, Naruto did not know about it until the day he graduated from the academy, when an instructor tricked him into stealing the forbidden scroll and then tried to kill Naruto. Shikamaru said, so that is how Naruto graduated and how he also learned Kagebunshin. Did he kill Mizuki? The third said, you are smarter than you let on, Shikamaru. How did you figure out it was Mizuki? Shino said, Iruka is still at the academy and Naruto and him got closer after graduation for some reason and Mizuki disappeared. Shikamaru said, and then there was the talk about the whole Mizuki incident that was whispered about for a while. The third said, well, you both have surprised me with what you have figured out, but the question is, what will you do with this info now that you have it? Shino said, Naruto is no different than my clan is. He has Kyuubi inside of him like I have my hive, but we are each unique beings. It would be illogical to change my view of him, then how I see him already, which is a comrade and possible a friend. Shikamaru said, it's troublesome, but I don't see him any different than before either. Naruto is Naruto. The third smiled and said, perhaps you both should tell him you know about the Kyuubi sometime and that you accept him. He could use someone to talk to his own age. Now as for your promotions. As he handed each a scroll and said, inside is your vest, wear them proudly, you earned them. As for the matter of Naruto parents, he knows who they were now and it is his decision to tell anyone or not. I would ask that you don't tell anyone about Naruto promotion until he returns, because there are those on the council who will try and strip it from him, and I need to focus on the village for the moment and ANBU. You are not to repeat anything you heard or you both will be spending time with both Ibiki and Anko in their playhouse. Causing everyone in the room to shiver. The ANBU nod and grab both boys before Shushin away. After they were gone, the third sighed and said, that's two now, Naruto. Maybe you will gain more. As he let his eyes drift toward the Hokage monument. Just then a swirl of leaves appeared in the office and the third turned and smiled as he said, Kakashi. I called you here because I wanted to say sorry for the way I was acting earlier. You see, there was a situation going on that could have turned very bad for the safety of the village if Jiraiya concentration would have been broke from what I needed him to do. Kakashi said, I see. Is there anything I should know about what Naruto was doing there? The third said, Naruto was there because he was injured defending the village, and also because I had discovered something that required Jiraiya attention regarding Naruto seal. Kakashi blinked and asked, Is everything contained? The third said, Yes, though I do have a question for you. Why is it over a month later that I learned that Orochimaru messed with the Kyuubi seal, while Team 7 was in the Forest of Death? Kakashi frowned behind his mask and said, I was not aware of that. No one on my team informed me about Orochimaru even touching Naruto. The third walked over and opened a drawer and said, Then why did you sign off on Sakura report that stated Orochimaru hit Naruto in the stomach with a glowing hand? Kakashi took the report and read it and said, Once I heard about the curse seal on Sasuke, I immediately began to prepare for the containment seal. The third said, Very well, but in the future please watch for these kind of things and read all the reports of your team before you hand them in. Luckily, all Orochimaru did was seal off the Kyuubi chakra from Naruto, making it where he had to deal with only his own chakra reserves until now. Kakashi nods and asked, Is he all right? The third said, No. He has a mild concussion that is now healing, as well as several cracked ribs, and his left arm is severely damaged. In fact, he may wind up losing his arm if Tsunade cannot fix it. Making Kakashi wide-eyed. Kakashi said, I see. I will go and s. The third said, You can't. He is no longer in the village. Jiraiya took him to look for Tsunade to bring her back and to look at his arm. She is the only hope he has. Now I have several questions that you are to answer me, Kakashi, because you and Sasuke have caused me several headaches that will be coming for the next several months. Now my first question is, why was Sasuke not at the stadium for the beginning of the Chunin exams? I had to ask Naruto, making it look like I did not have control of my ninja where you were, and he informed me that he had not seen you or him since the day of the preliminaries, and I will be asking about that later, but for now I want my first question answered, and don't give me any bullshit answer because I am not in the mood. Kakashi said, I took Sasuke to train at Fire Canyon. As you know, it is a 6-hour trip back here from there, and I had lost a day somewhere in our training, and I honestly thought the exams were tomorrow and that we were coming back today to rest up for the exams. It was not until we heard the explosions that we realized the exams were today. The third frowned and said, That is a human error, but that also means that you were not here for any of the invasion then. Kakashi said, No. By the time we arrived, the sand and sound had already retreated, and we had only just arrived when I ran into Jiraiya and the ANBU came to get him. I had sent Sasuke on into the village to help where he could, and then I met up with you. The third shook his head and said, Because of Sasuke and your error, this village will most likely lose several clients over the next few months. I had to declare Sasuke as a forfeit against Gaara. With the reaction over that announcement, I will have to punish both you and him to show that Konoha does not tolerate disrespecting our clients and being less than competent. For Sasuke, whose place it should have been to remind you that today was the exams, he will lose the chance to become a Chunin for the next 2 years. He will also have to do 5 D-rank mission a week by himself until the next Chunin exams in 6 months. It will be his responsibility to make sure they are done, because if he doesn't do them, I will have no choice but to seal off his Sharingan as well until he can learn proper respect. Kakashi nods and said, I understand. The third said, As for you, Kakashi, I have no choice but to enforce a harsher punishment since I have been so lax with you that it is common knowledge to even our VIP that you are always late. Your punishment is as follows. You will be demoted to special jounin with your pay cut accordingly for the next 2 years, in which you are under probation, along with having to do a 12-hour guard duty once a month at the front gate for the entire 2 years. You are no longer allowed to be late for your team meetings, command meetings, summons, or missions. Do so and your Sharingan I will be removed and replaced. Making Kakashi wide-eyed, and the third cut him off and said, Don't. Now if you complete your probation of 2 years with no other reprimands and fill all requirements, then you will be allowed to test for your jounin status restored. Do you understand your punishment? Kakashi nods, and the third said, I am sorry about this, Kakashi, but you have to understand. For this error on your part, Konoha will suffer. Even with the outstanding performance Naruto did today, we will lose some, but not as many as we could. Kakashi asked, How did Naruto do? The third was silent a moment and asked, First, why did you not train Naruto? He didn't tell me anything but not seeing you since that day. I know something happened because of the way he avoided speaking about it, but he refused to tell me what, so I want to know everything that happened that day. Kakashi sighed and said, Naruto came to me in the hospital when I went to tell Sasuke to get ready and asked me to train him. I told him the truth that day and he did not like it. I told him that with his chakra control as it is right now that there was nothing that I could teach him in the month time to beat Niji, and that the only reason I actually put him and Sakura in the exams was to gain actual experience that would aid them later. The only reason he passed the preliminaries was because he lost control of his bodily function. Sasuke is the only one on the team who had the required skills to advance to Chunin at this time, and that I had arranged for him to work on his chakra control over the month with another jounin so that after the exams were over I could hopefully train him then, and that at this time since there was nothing I could teach him that it would just be a waste of my time and I refused to waste my time teaching him something he couldn't use. The third was livid at this point and said, I see. Tell me Kakashi, who did you assign to him? Kakashi said, Ebisu. The third frowned and said, that is odd because Ebisu has been training my grandson every day this month. Did you introduce them to each other or tell them where to meet? Kakashi thought a moment and said, no. I figured Ebisu would track him down, and because Naruto was causing a scene at the hospital and losing control of his anger, I shushin away so he could calm down. I then packed and met Sasuke at the gate and left until today. The third asked, then who trained your student Kakashi? Kakashi said, I guess he must have trained himself. No wonder he was so injured then. The third said, Kakashi, I am finding it very hard to control myself at this moment from snapping your neck for being a clusterfuck. You ask how Naruto did in the exams. Fine, I will tell you. When I was questioning him about where you were, he was able to detect the Kazekage who was coming up the stairs was in fact an imposter, and he informed me as such. He then walked off the Kage box and free fell to the floor, but somehow when he hit he created a cage bunshin and hinged himself into either sand or a rock or something that no one in the stadium detected, while his clone walked over and made several bold statements that earned the respect of civilians and ninja of Konoha but also made the Leaf Village look good in front of our VIPs. After that he began his match with Niji Hyuga, and he played mind games with Niji, enraging the Hyuga by insulting not only their honor but their bloodline, as well as knocking Niji down several pegs that I am sure Hayashi will be in here later today demanding Naruto head for, but the cage bunshin then took a full 64 palm strike from Niji without being destroyed, and then he proceeded to pick Niji up and literally bitch slap a message into his head while taking juken strikes to the head and body before he punched Niji away. As Niji was standing up, the cage bunshin somehow took the chakra from Niji's strikes and turned itself into a bunshin bakuha that blew up, throwing Niji into the wall, knocking him out. Naruto then revealed himself and commented how even he wasn't stupid enough to fight a Hyuga head-on. Kakashi was wide-eyed, and the third said, after that things started to get interesting because Sasuke was not there. I had no choice but to give Gaara the win, and then Kankuro forfeited, which made Naruto, Shikamaru and Shino all three suspicious, and they talked about it and Shikamaru forfeited so he could conserve chakra. This made it where Naruto and Gaara met in the next round. Because of the actions of those three, it caused a silent message to be sent to our forces in the stands, and they began to weaken the Sand Shinobi. Naruto decimated Gaara from the start of the match. He was able to figure out how to get Gaara-san defense to work for him, and he was able to blow a hole in the wall right where the water pipes were, where he used the hidden mist jutsu to conceal himself from Gaara, and then based on the chakra usage of the attack, I would have to say it was an assassination jutsu. He was able to blow through all of Gaara defense, wounding him. At that moment Gaara released the demon sealed inside of him. Kakashi gasped and said, Gaara is a Jinchuriki. The third said, yes. That started the battle between our forces, and Naruto used the rampaging demon to attack the fake Kazekage, who we believe was Orochimaru, neutralizing him for the battle, since after that the Kazekage and Orochimaru both were never seen again except for the discarded face of the Kazekage. Naruto then told me he would get Gaara away from the village by using himself as bait, and he flew. That's right, Naruto actually flew, and he attacked the demon head-on and led it to where you found us, where he defeated the demon in battle but not without injury to himself, and he did it all without the aid of Kyuubi chakra. Quite impressive for someone who wasn't worth your time. Ha, Kakashi. Kakashi winced and looked down, and the third said, I have promoted Naruto to the rank of Chunin along with Shikamaru and Shino. Without their actions the Leaf Village could very well have fallen today. You will not speak about the promotion to anyone, including your students. As of this moment I have taken Naruto off of Team 7 and he is temporarily under the apprenticeship of Jiraiya. One more thing you should know. Somehow over the month Naruto not only trained himself but he went to Wave Country to train, and he also learned who his father was. He won't tell me how he learned it, but all he wanted to know was who his mother was. I informed him and he is content for the time being, but your actions toward him have hurt him more than anything. If he loses his arm over this, he will most likely blame you, since he most likely feels you played favorites and left him alone like everyone else in this village did. The fact he knows you're his dad's student probably makes it worse. I will do what I can to ensure he does not do something that could become bad for everyone, but I want to know now, what all have you taught him since he has been on Team 7 along with you other two students? I want to know everything. Kakashi said, teamwork and tree walking I taught to the entire team. I taught Sasuke Lee Taijutsu so he could use the Chidori correctly, which I also taught him. I taught him a few fire control exercises as well as wire traps to go with them. The third said, so you taught Naruto and Sakura nothing? Kakashi, get out of my sight before I kill you. I pray you have your affairs in order because if Jiraiya finds out about this, he will come for you. Kakashi nods and leaves the office. The third flashed through hand seals and sets his desk on fire, and the two clones screamed, "Hey! We were done with all that paperwork." The third glared at them and threw a kunai at both, destroying them. Hayashi knocked on the door and opened it without waiting, and he saw the Sandame standing behind the burning desk, and the third glared and said, "If this is about you whiny-ass bitch of a nephew, shove it. I am not in the mood, or would you like to be my sparring partner for the next few hours?" As he slammed his fist into the wall behind it, making it spiderweb, Hayashi paled and said, "It can wait, have a good day, sir," as he left quickly. The third glared a few more moments when the door started to open again, and he said, "If you value your life, come back tomorrow or I will summon the fucking Shinigami to take your and my soul." The door quickly closed and the third sat down in his chair and said, "Let it burn." After Kakashi left the Hokage office, he was in deep shock over all that he heard, and he was walking through the village when the voice of Sasuke caught his attention. Sasuke came walking toward Kakashi with a scowl on his face and said, "So what did you find out? Do I get another chance to become a Chunin since the exams was cancelled?" Kakashi said, "Actually, for embarrassing the village by not only missing your match but the entire exam, you are going to be punished." Sasuke glared and said, "Why? I mean, it was your fault we were late." Kakashi said, "That is true, but it was also your responsibility to keep up with the days as well since it was your promotion at stakes. Now the Sandame has decided for your punishment to be that you will lose the chance to become a Chunin for the next 2 years. You will also have to do 5 D-rank mission a week by yourself until the next Chunin exams in 6 months. It will be your responsibility to make sure they are done because if you don't do them, your Sharingan will be sealed off." Sasuke said, "You can't do that." Kakashi said, "I have my own punishment, Sasuke, and it's not my decision. It was the Hokage's." Sasuke scowled and thought, perhaps it's time I took Danzo up on his offer. He proved to me that day the Sandame is nothing but a figurehead and the real control of the village is in the council. That's it, the council. And said, "Then I will speak with the council. The Hokage is nothing but a figurehead anyways." As he turned and started to walk away, Kakashi blinked and thought, figurehead huh? Not with the look he was ready to kill me with. I can't let him talk to the council and start a massacre. And said, "Sasuke, I believe you are wrong about the Hokage being nothing but a figurehead. You do realize that if you are right about the Hokage being a figurehead, though then the council made that decision of your punishment." Sasuke stopped in his tracks and thought a moment and said, "I guess you're right. I can't believe that they would actually threaten me though." As he began to rub the curse seal and remembered Kabuto words the day in the hospital. Flashback. Kabuto stood over the bodies of 4A and Bu and he looked at Sasuke who was in the bed and said, "As you can see, I am stronger than most think. My master taught me that Konoha will only hold me back and that they are doing the same thing to you. They think you're too weak to kill your brother and avenge your clan. Watch, they are already holding you back. Why else give you the laziest sensei there is who is always late? Now rest." As he placed his glowing hand on Sasuke's head, causing Sasuke to pass out as he prepared for Kakashi. End flashback. Kakashi blinked and thought, has he always been so conceited? As he frowned seeing Sasuke rub the curse seal and after a quick thought said, "It is probably because of all the VIP that were upset with you not showing up as well as the invasion. Everyone is pissed right now over that and Konoha needs those VIP to be happy so we can stay strong. Just think, by doing those D-rank mission you will get stronger and you don't have to take the exam to become Chunin." Sasuke blinked and looked at Kakashi asked, "What do you mean? I thought the exam were the only way to be promoted." Kakashi said, "The exams are mostly advertisements for the different villages showing off their best genin. Truth is about half of the Chunin in the village became Chunin by excelling on missions and were promoted that way. Odds are that is what the Sandame will do with you." Sasuke quit rubbing the curse seal and thought for several minutes and said, "Fine. I don't like it but you're right." And thought he was right. Konoha is holding me back because they think I am too weak to kill him. You're the same Kakashi, you purposely made me late so I could not be promoted and held back from getting stronger to kill him. I will play along. For now." As he began to walk away. After he was gone, Kakashi thought, "That seal is beginning to affect you mentally, Sasuke. I have to keep you calm until Jiraiya-sama returns and ask him to look at it. Perhaps my sealing method isn't strong enough to hold it back." Across the village, people were working on recovering from the invasion that happened earlier in the day, and no one realizing the journey that started today for two different boys. But where will those boys' journey lead them? To destiny or to destruction? It was already dark when Jiraiya and Naruto made it to a gambling town called Hiko. Jiraiya looked around the town a moment and pulled out a black notepad before he skimmed a few pages and sent chakra to a page, and a key popped out. Naruto looked on confused, and Jiraiya said, "I spend so much time on the road, I simply decided it would be easier to buy a hotel room in nearly every major town. It's cheaper and I don't have to worry about finding a room if there is something big going on in town the day I am there. Come." As he was serious and lead Naruto toward a room near the red light district, and after taking a flight of stairs they came to room 219. When they walked in, the room had a king-size bed and a fold-up bed beside the closet, and Jiraiya closed the door and pulled out 6 pieces of paper and put one on each of the 4 walls, one on the ceiling and one on the floor before he sent chakra into the last one, and all the papers glowed, and Jiraiya said, "Now this room is soundproof and nobody can hear us. Now, as I was saying in Konoha before you avoided my speech, once people find out you're wearing armor, they are going to target it to get to you. You don't realize what exactly you gave up when you received that armor. Hell, I don't even know what you gained from it, but I bet it's not worth what you lost." Naruto frowned and thought, "I gained more than you know, Ero-sanin," and Eva said in his head, "If you wish, Naruto, I can explain exactly what you now have under your control to Jiraiya, since you seem to trust him and he needs to know so he can train you properly. I only can do so much." Naruto saw Jiraiya was getting ready for a long speech before he sighed and said, "Do it," making Jiraiya look at him and ask, "Do what?" Suddenly Naruto's body shimmered a moment, and then strange shimmers of light began to gather in the middle of the room. Jiraiya was on defensive a moment as all the shimmers concentrated together before a woman appeared with brown hair going to her mid-back with brown eyes, and Jiraiya took one look and said, "So what is this brat?" As he glanced at Naruto and then the woman. The woman said, "I am Eva, the electronic virtual avatar. I am a holographic image of my creator. If you have any questions about the prototype, I can answer them for you since my master has agreed to inform you." Jiraiya looked at her and his perverted habit dropped, and he said, "So, you're a hologram, right?" Eva said, "Yes, I am connected to Naruto as his direct interface to the prototype." Jiraiya looked at Naruto, who walked over and sat down on the bed before laying back, and said, "Go ahead and ask her anything you want. I am going to get a little sleep." As he laid his good arm over his face and closed his eyes to try and sleep, Jiraiya looked at Naruto a moment and said, "Fine. What exactly is this prototype? What can it do and what can it do? What long-term effects will the suit have on Naruto?" Another image appeared, and this time was a floating version of the full armored suit, and it slowly spun in a circle, and Eva said, "This is the prototype suit created for the ninja of Snow Country originally to help them protect their country. It is a combination of metallurgy and cybernetics. The metal of the suit is a new type of metal created by the creator of this prototype that was given the nickname the chakra metal. Chakra metal is metal that consumes chakra and stores it automatically for later use. Records indicate only 2 known productions of chakra metal were ever made. This suit and the Samahata sword created as a gift to feudal lord of the Land of Mist and later stolen when he was assassinated." Jiraiya nods, and Eva said, "Now the main difference between normal armor and the prototype is that this armor is basically alive," making Jiraiya blink and look at Naruto, who was already asleep. Jiraiya asked, "What exactly do you mean alive?" with narrowed eyes. Eva said, "Exactly what I mean. Every inch of the suit is basically me. My creator created me to be a part of the ninja that I was given to. Like any living creature, I have the ability to heal myself over time as long as I have chakra to do so. I absorb water to fuel my body, and like any wife, I help support my husband or partner Naruto." Jiraiya said, "You think like a human instead of a machine." Eva said, "Because I was given a copy of my creator's memory with some minor editing to help me understand my functions and to help me learn to control my body." Jiraiya narrowed his eyes again and said, "I see. So what exactly does your body do?" Eva said, "As stated earlier, I have the ability to absorb chakra and store it in my suit to give to Naruto or to power the suit as not to have to drain chakra from Naruto. I use this chakra to repair myself from any damage I receive, power my internal functions, as well as power my own brain functions." Jiraiya asked, "Besides protecting Naruto like normal armor and possibly give him a little chakra, what else can you do for him? So far, I am not impressed." Eva said, "You have seen already the cloaking ability to appear as if he is not wearing me. I purify his chakra, giving him better control of his chakra. I am able to allow him to fly, and I have several weapon features like the exploding Senbon launcher, several detection abilities including being able to pick up body heat through several levels, facial recognition software, being able to detect concealed objects or object underground through sonar sound waves, night vision, and rangefinder, as well as the hand thrust cannon, which allows the user to fire a concentrated burst of pure chakra at a distance. Because of the ability to absorb chakra and to give chakra to Naruto, no genjutsu can affect him as I absorb the chakra that cast it, and should it somehow be strong enough to still reach him, I am sending small burst of chakra into his body to disrupt it. Jiraiya said, I see. Anything else? Eva said, the suit is self-contained. It creates its own oxygen, so smoke, airborne poison, or anything like that will not be able to affect him while he is wearing the suit. He is also able to stay underwater as long as he has chakra. Jiraiya asked, how does the suit create its own air, and how can he stay under the water until he is out of chakra? Shouldn't it leak at the joints? Eva said, no, because there is no joints. The suit, even though it is divided into sections, merge together when activated, making it completely sealed. As for how I make oxygen for him to breathe is part of why I absorb water. There are seals and filter systems built into the suit that allows the water I absorb into the seal to be used as a cooling agent for my body so it does not overheat. Water is slowly filtered to remove any harmful contaminants so Naruto can drink it without having to carry a canteen. There is a small layer of water completely in the suit that help to keep the suit exactly the same temp no matter how hot or cold it is outside of the suit. Some water is divided into its base elements and of hydrogen and oxygen. That oxygen is what he is able to breathe, while the hydrogen is made into fuel for the flight system in the boots. Jiraiya was actually impressed at this point and said, I can see how that would be usable to snow ninja, keeping them from freezing to death in the cold, able to detect anyone who is trapped in the snow with your detection ability. In case a ninja fall under the ice into the water, they can survive until they get out. The ability to fly allows you to move quickly in water and to get to places quickly. The thrust cannon was to allow the ninja to blow a hole in the ice to escape, and the exploding senbon needles are to weaken snowbanks for controlled avalanches to keep from having uncontrolled avalanches, right? Eva said, yes, those are the original plans by my creator. Jiraiya said, all right, I can see how that would be useful to snow ninja and could aid Naruto, but what I want to know is what effect will ninjutsu have on him? Eva said, fire will try to heat up the suit temp to penetrate the suit, but the water in the suit will keep it cool while absorbing the chakra from it. As long as water is still inside the suit, water will be absorbed and filtered while still absorbing the chakra up to 5,000 gallons total. After that, the water is just hitting the suit like water hitting stone. Wind will be weakened by absorbing the chakra in it, and any damage done will slowly be repaired. Any section of the suit can stand up to 2000 psi worth of pressure before breaking. Where fire would first have to waste the water in the suit before it could start to actually heat it enough to burn through, water would have to be condensed to increase the pressure over a long period of time on a specific spot in the suit before it could reach him. Wind attack would have to work on slowly cutting their way through the suit in a single spot to get through while it is being weakened by losing the chakra, making it that much harder to have enough pressure to cut that spot. Earth jutsu are the one true trouble for the suit. Earth would also start losing chakra that keeps it together, but if Spike's attacks were to hit a spot, it would be a matter of if it had enough force to penetrate the suit. Jiraiya asked, what about lightning? Eva said, I would absorb the chakra like usual, however electricity does pose a danger to me but not Naruto directly. Any electric attacks will instantly drop the stealth shield showing the actual armor, and if the charge is more than a stun level, the section of the armor will quit working for 60 seconds while the system reboots. The suit is designed for the protection of the person wearing it, and the thought of electrical attacks was concerned, so the water cooling system for the suit is another way of protecting the user. Any attack able to make connection with the suit would be absorbed by the water and channeled to the feet where it can be harmlessly passed into the ground without harming the user. Jiraiya asked, what about an electrical attack that hits the entire suit? Eva said, the suit would be frozen from the attack for 60 seconds while I am reset. The suit would still protect him from the electricity, but he won't be able to move. Jiraiya thought for several minutes and asked, what about assassination jutsu like the Chidori and the Rasengan? Eva was quite several minutes and said, I have no data on those jutsu. I was tested with a few C and B rank jutsu of all 5 elements that Ninja of Snow knew, and thus is how I am aware of the effects. Jiraiya said, well, not bad, I guess. You have a lot of little surprises that would aid a person, however I do see several things that make you a handicap. One is the loss of mobility and speed. Eva said, actually besides the initial loss of speed from getting used to me as he has already done, then there is none. I was designed so my weight would not crack the ice or snowbanks, so I am actually very lightweight with my weight only being 60 pounds total. As for the loss of mobility, as I told you, when the entire suit is used it merges together to make it one body. This was done so not to leave any openings, kinks, or weak spots in the suit, and in the process actually increases a user's mobility by 10%. This is possible because I am linked to Naruto brain and I receive the same signals his body does, so as his body moves the suit moves with him. Jiraiya rubbed his chin and said, I see. I have to admit whoever created you was a genius at thinking of all possibilities. However, there are other things that hurt Naruto. I notice that he does not carry shurikens or kunais since he has the senbons. The main thing that worries me is that now he has no actual close range protection from taijutsu and kenjutsu as he would have with a kunai. Eva said, that is because Naruto does not know any close range weapons besides the kunai. I understand what you are saying, that even with me, he is still possibly vulnerable. However, what you fail to realize is that I am upgradable. I was originally designed to be customized to my user. If my user knew kenjutsu, instead of carrying a sword with you at any time, you could use the chakra saber or the chakra scythe. I have both devices stored in me currently, but until Naruto actually learns to use a sword or scythe, then they could cause him to hurt himself just as easily as not, which is why I have not gave him those yet. No kunai can get through my armor to him, and as for taijutsu users, Naruto taijutsu level is far below that it should be currently. However, once he improves with my protection, he will easily be considered high chunin to low jounin, just because it would take so much work to actually make contact with him. Jiraiya shook his head and said, I have seen taijutsu masters break through armor like tinfoil, and while I admit that you do give him better protection than anything else, he will have to improve if he wants to live. Though I do have a question. If you are able to protect Naruto as well as you claim, then why was his arm hurt so severely? Eva said, oh, that is simple. Naruto ordered me to direct all power into one attack to stop Shikaku. When he did, I deactivated the safety shock absorbers in his arm that would have reduced the kickback from the thrust cannon to make it feel like he punched a wall instead of breaking the bones in his arm. Jiraiya's sweat dropped and said, wait. You mean he is hurt because… That idiot. First he foolishly trusts a total stranger, which could have been an enemy. Then he goes into combat with a new weapon that he does not properly understand how to use. That's it. When he is healed, I am so kicking his ass. Eva said, question. Do you know anything about human anatomy? Jiraiya stopped his rant and said, a little. Why? The image of the armor disappeared and then another image of an arm appeared, but then the arm zoomed in to show the bones inside it, and Eva said, as you can see, the sections in pink are the sections that are nearly healed already thanks to his healing ability. However, if you look at the red section, you will see the reason he is actually in so much pain. Jiraiya looked at the hologram and he frowned and said, I can see all, but that is nearly healed. However, I do not know what we can do about that. Is this accurate? Eva said, as of 4 minutes ago, yes. Jiraiya looked at the arm and said, it appears that the radius and the ulna are broke about 2 inches below the elbow, and that about 1 inch of both bones were pulverized into dust. Is it healing? Eva said, no. It seems his body cannot figure out what exactly is wrong there and how to fix it. Jiraiya said, I see. I don't know what we can do for him. For now, let him sleep. I am going to seal him into this room while I go out and see if I can gather any info on Tsunade location. Do not let him leave this room for anything, and do not let anyone in. Is there anything else you can think of I should know? Eva shook her head no, and Jiraiya said, good. Then let the boy rest and I will see you both later. As he put a seal tag on all the windows and the outside door, sealing the room as he left. The next morning when Naruto awoke, he saw Jiraiya sitting at a small table holding his head, and Naruto asked, what's wrong with you? Jiraiya looked over at him and said, I have a hangover, but I found out some info after you fell asleep last night. Tsunade was here about 2 months ago. She went to a town 2 days travel from here. We will be heading there next to see if we can find her trail. Naruto nods and said, so what am I supposed to do besides sleep in the hotel rooms? Jiraiya said, I got one of your father's jutsu you can learn while we travel. I got you a scroll full of water balloons ready to learn it. Naruto blinked and asked, water balloons? In disbelief. Jiraiya said, yeah, water balloons. Watch. As he held up a water balloon in his hand and it started to bubble before it burst, and he said, what you have to do is use your chakra to move the water inside of it until it explodes. That is all the clue I can give you, because you will have to figure out the secret yourself. This is just the first step though. Don't get upset if you can't do it quickly though, because it took your dad 3 years to make it and a year for me to learn it. Naruto asked, what is the jutsu supposed to do when I learn all the steps, and how many are there? Jiraiya said, there are 3 steps and it's called the Rasengan. As he held up his hand again and formed a perfect Rasengan. Naruto nods and said, well, let's eat and get on the road. I feel better now that I got some sleep, though my arm still hurts. Jiraiya said, from the display Eva showed me last night, your arm won't heal on its own. You're going to have to see someone about it. You were stupid to cause Eva to shut off the safety devices in that suit when you told her to use all power for one attack. That is why your arm is screwed up. Naruto sighed and said, I know already. She explained it to me on the way here yesterday. Let's eat. I am hungry. Jiraiya nods and they leave to eat breakfast before beginning to travel toward the next town Tsunade was heading toward as Naruto worked on the Rasengan first stage. 2 days later, Naruto frowned as he glared at the water balloon in his hand. He looked at the hotel room he was in and thought, stupid Ero-sanin. How does he expect me to be able to pop this balloon when all I can do is make the balloon go nearly flat? Naruto groaned as his latest attempt to pop it failed, and he fell back on the bed and looked at the ceiling and thought, stupid balloon. I just want to rip it apart into millions of tiny Wait a moment. As he sat up and looked at the ball and said, Eva, did you record the balloon exploding from Ero-sanin demonstration? Eva said, yes. Naruto smirked and said, good. Show it to me, please. The little particles for the hologram appeared and showed Jiraiya, who said, now watch closely. As he held the balloon up and it began to bubble in different places and explode. Naruto said, do it again, Eva. Just the part where he is actually using it. Again. 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 As he watched, he moved closer and put his hand on the bumps of the hologram balloon and began to trace them and thought, there are multiple bumps appearing all over the balloon in a pattern at the same time, and it did not go flat. Could those multiple bumps be different rotations? And he looked at the ball in his hand and said, Eva, can you edit this any? Eva said, I can try. Naruto said, okay, this scene where the bumps are appearing, start with this bump here and see if you can track the direction the rotation is going with that bump. Make another hologram of it, but change the color of each bump and show it moving. Can you do that? Eva said, using thermal heat sensors and sonic waves, I should be able to give an example of what is happening, though it may have an error of 40%. Naruto said, that's okay. Just do what you can. Naruto watched as another ball appeared and he watched it and said, so there are at least 10 currents based on the info you show me. Not the one like I thought it was. Thanks, Eva. I think you just helped me figure it out. As he looked at the balloon and got back to work trying different rotations. After the 5th rotation, the balloon exploded and Naruto said, yes. Now let's see if I can get it to all 10 like Ero-sanin. About 4 hours later, Naruto groaned as he tried to flex his hand but was too tender and he thought, well, that's it for now. My hand is just about burned out. I am hungry also. Stupid Ero-sanin making me stay in the hotel room all day. I wonder if they do room service here. As he started checking all the drawers and finds a small book with the hotel name and reads it, and he walks over to the phone and picked it up and said, according to this, I just press the blue button on the bottom and then type in the number for the item I want. There is no ramen, but this looks good. As he typed in the number and then hung up the phone. He laid back on the bed and about 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door and Naruto walked toward the door and said, who is it? Through the door. A male voice said, room service. Naruto smiled to himself and unlocked the door and opened it and blinked and said, huh, I don't remember ordering sushi. Inside Naruto vision, a picture of the man appeared and Naruto heard Eva say in his head, Kisame Hashigaki, the monster of the mist, former member of the 7 swordsmen, S-rank missing nin, carries the Samahata that he took after killing the previous owner. Naruto looked at the other person and thought, Sasuke. No, too old. Eva said as another picture appeared, Uchiha Itachi, former ANBU captain, S-rank missing ninja from Konoha, killed the entire Uchiha clan except his younger brother Sasuke. Beware of the Sharingan. Kisame said, everyone's a critic. Can I cut off his legs, Itachi? We don't need them. Itachi said as he looked into Naruto's eyes, Naruto Uzumaki, please step out of the room and come with us. Naruto asked, and why would I want to go with a pair of S-rank missing nins and what do you want from me? Itachi thought, strange. Why did the force hypnosis fail? Naruto's eyes darted around the area and thought, Eva, got any escape plans because I know I can't beat both of these guys. Kisame said, seems you're losing your touch, Itachi. Okay, kid, let's go, I don't have all day. As he reached for Naruto's arm. Naruto said, don't touch me, as he jerked his right arm back and suddenly a senbon needle hit the ground in the middle of Kisame and Itachi and the flooring exploded, blowing both men aside. Naruto turned quickly at that moment and launched 3 senbons at the wall where the window was and it exploded, blowing a huge hole in it, and he ran and jumped out the window. Kisame, who was standing back up, asked, what the fuck was that? As he grabbed his sword. Itachi said, It appears that we underestimated him. Come, we must hurry because these explosions will surely attract Jiraiya. As he jumped into the room where Naruto had been and ran toward the new door Naruto created when 10 Senbon needles flew into the room from the roof across the way. Itachi, seeing this, quickly replaces himself with the bed mattress and the needles explode, blowing smoking feathers all across the room. Kisame came into the room and asked, "Where the hell is he getting all these exploding notes?" Itachi said, "It's not notes. It's exploding Senbon needles. It appears as if our information on him is not accurate. Come." As he jumped out the window toward the roof across the way where Naruto had been moments before with Kisame following him. As Naruto was running across the roof, he looked back and saw the pair catching him and he thought, "Come on, Ero-sanin, where are you?" As he shot a Senbon into the alley, he jumped over and it explodes against the trash cans. As Kisame and Itachi got within 10 yards of Naruto, another explosion hit the roof where Naruto was and Kisame charged through the explosion, only to be cloths-lined by Jiraiya's arm, causing him to gasp at his throat, and Naruto, who was standing behind Jiraiya, pointed his right arm at Kisame, and a Senbon needle launched from it, and Itachi replaced Kisame with a rain gutter, and Itachi landed beside Kisame and said, "Come, we can't win this fight." As he started to run, Kisame screamed, "But what about my sword?" As he looked at his sword that had slid away when he fell from Jiraiya's surprise attack, and Jiraiya, who was glaring at him, nearly failed to duck, pulling Naruto with him as the Samahata was thrown from behind them by a cage bunshin of Itachi that went up in smoke. Kisame caught it and smirked before jumping away, and Jiraiya sighed as Naruto said, "What the hell were Kisame and Itachi? A pair of S-rank missing nin coming after me for, and where were you?" Jiraiya asked, "How did you know who they were and their rank?" "I never heard them say their name beside Kisame saying Itachi, and you called them by their rank." As he looked at Naruto, Naruto rubbed his head and said, "Eva showed me who they were and—" "Wait, you were there? I could have been killed. Why didn't you show yourself?" Jiraiya said, "A ninja must know when to strike, kid. I was waiting for the best moment before attacking. How did Eva know who they were?" Naruto, hearing Eva in his head, said, "According to her, when I was still passed out, the guy who gave her to me tested her memory program by having her scan the bingo book, and she recognized him thanks to her facial recognition ability. She said all she needs is a photo to scan, and she can look for people." Jiraiya thinks a moment and pulls out a photo of Tsunade and said, "This is Tsunade, the woman we are looking for. Scan it. Good job on getting away and calling for help, by the way. Come on, I got a lead on Tsunade, a few days' travel from here." As he jumped away and Naruto followed but winced as his arm jarred. Time skip. It has been 3 days since the attack on the village of Konoha. The recovery was nearly complete since the attacking force was stopped so soon and the ninja in the stadium were awake to help defend the village. Sakura Haruno walked toward the bridge that Team 7 always met on since she received a message that she would be meeting them today. Sakura thought, "I can't believe we were actually attacked like that. At least there was not a lot of damage. They had all us genin just gather in the damaged area, and then the Chunin there were telling us what to do. I wonder how Sasuke-kun and Naruto are doing. I haven't seen Naruto since the exams, and I have not seen Sasuke-kun since the preliminaries." As she stopped on the bridge and looked around. A few minutes later, Sasuke walked up with his hands in his pocket and glared at Sakura, who said, "Hello, Sasuke-kun. How are you doing today?" Sasuke just humphed and looked away. About 5 minutes later, the sound of footprints caught both their attention, and both looked at the source and blinked, and Sakura said, "Hey, it's you. Tenten, right?" Tenten walked up in her regular cloths and said, "Yeah, that's me," as she huffed and crossed her chest. Before anyone had a chance to say anything, a puff of smoke appeared, and Kakashi was seen standing there, and he said, "Yo." Sakura gaped and said, "Kakashi-sensei, you're on time." Kakashi sweat drop and said, "I can be on time." Sakura blinked and Tenten said, "Not according to Gai-sensei." Kakashi said, You must be Tenten, our temporary replacement." Tenten sighed and said, "That was what Gai-sensei said. He told me that since you only have one person short and our team is too short with Lee injury and Niji having flash burn on his eyes from the explosion, it would be easier to join your team for the time being, and Gai-sensei can do Jounin missions." Sakura asked, "Kakashi-sensei, what about Naruto and what is this temporary stuff?" As she looked at Kakashi. All 3 genin looked at Kakashi, who said, "Naruto is currently on a mission. I don't know when he will return." Sasuke asked, "Why does the Dobe get a mission and we didn't?" Kakashi said, "You would have to ask the Hokage Sasuke. Now this afternoon is the funeral for all those who died in the attack, so no missions." Why don't you three spend the rest of today getting to know each other for teamwork, and tomorrow we will start missions. I have gate duty for now. As he left in a swirl of leaves, each of the Genin's sweat drop and Sasuke began to walk away, and Sakura looked at Tenten and Sasuke and said, Sasuke-kun, wait, don't you want to get to know Tenten? As Sasuke continued to walk away and Sakura frowned and said, sorry about this Tenten, but I haven't seen him since the preliminaries. I want to see how he is doing. Can we meet later to get to know each other? And Tenten thought, I can't believe I am saying thing, but I miss Guy-sensei. And said, I guess. My family owns the Wolf Claw weapon shop. I am going to train here a little while and then head home, which is above the weapon shop. Sakura nods and asked, did you ever figure out how Naruto was able to launch those senbons? Tenten said no. Sakura said, okay, I just was wondering. I will see you later. As she ran after Sasuke. After she was gone, Tenten sighed as she looked around the clearing and began to work on her target practice. A few hours later, as she was gathering her weapons, she blinked as she looked at the back of a tree and saw where someone had engraved into a tree, and she read, in memory of a hero, even if he was an enemy, you will always be one in my eyes. Haku Momochi, adopted son of Zabuza Momochi. I, Naruto Uzumaki, hereby give you the closest award I can to being honored as a village hero. It was thanks to you I learned true strength comes from protecting that which is most precious to you. Rest in peace, my friend. Tenten thought, strange, but nice. 2 weeks later, Naruto looked at the rubber ball in his hand and asked, so how many steps are there to this Arrow Sannin? Jiraiya said, you will find out when you finish it. Now heads up. My contacts in the last village said Tsunade was seen heading this way 2 days ago. Have Eva using that face thing she did to see if she can find her in the crowds from that picture I showed you. Naruto said, yeah. It's been the same thing in every town we visited since you found out she could do that. As he looked at the rubber ball in his hand, Jiraiya said, I am merely testing your abilities, kid. You have to admit that having the entire bingo book scanned into memory for easy access is a big help. Thanks to it, we got that bounty in the last town for that guy in the bar we stopped to get a drink at. I would never have guessed someone who looked so much like shit could be a B-rank missing nin. Naruto said, you're just upset that Eva found him when you were sitting right next to him and could not tell who he was. Jiraiya ignored the comment and said, come, let's find her. Naruto said, whatever, Arrow Sannin. As they entered the town and began to look for Tsunade. About an hour into looking for them, Naruto heard a voice say, Tsunade-sama, we should quit while you're ahead. Making Naruto look over and said, oi, Arrow Sannin, is that her? As he points toward a woman with a green jacket with the kanji on the back for sucker. Jiraiya said, yeah, that's her. Come. As he walked over to her and said, it's been a while, Tsunade. The slot machine Tsunade had just pulled the handle on said tilt. Tsunade groaned and looked over her shoulder and said, now I know why I was winning. Whatever it is, the answer is no. Jiraiya chuckled and said, good one, Tsunadeheim. Well, you see, the thing is. Jiraiya chuckled and said, good one, Tsunadeheim. Well, you see, the thing is. Tsunade turned in her seat and grabbed Jiraiya by the front of his shirt and raised him off the floor by it and said, look, I washed my hands with Konoha a long time ago, and of anything that reminds me of it. Just leave me alone. As she shoved him away and he hit the wall 20 feet away. Naruto looked at Tsunade and then at the girl next to her, and Naruto asked, then what are you doing traveling with a Konoha ninja? If you washed your hands of Konoha, then what is she doing with you? As he thought, according to Jiraiya, that is Shizune, Tsunade official apprentice, meaning she was a Konoha nin. Tsunade flinched and Shizune said, I am Tsunade apprentice. Naruto said, then by the laws of the Leaf Village that means you are accepting the duties as a Konoha shinobi. What rank are you? Shizune flinched at Naruto words and said, I. As she looked at Tsunade. Tsunade asked, what rank are you and who the hell are you, Gaki? Naruto said, Naruto Uzumaki, Chun-nin of Konoha. Tsunade said, and I am a Sannin, and Shizune has traveling rights as my apprentice, so don't even think about finishing your argument. Naruto said, as long as you are a loyal Konoha shinobi, and if you refuse to return to Konoha under the orders of the Sandaime who sent us, makes you a missing nin, and thus if your assistant also refuses, makes her one as well. Jiraiya, who stood back up, said, that's enough, Naruto. Naruto said, what's enough? I mean, we ran into a pair of S-rank missing nins on our way to find the old hag here after Konoha was attacked by Orochimaru and his army and the army of Suna, and because the old man sent for her and she. Tsunade clenched her fist and asked, "What the hell did you call me Gaki?" As she unleashed some ki. Naruto felt it and ignored it and said, "Please, Zabuza and Orochimaru both had more ki than that and Shikaku had more than both them, so yours doesn't affect me, and as for the old hag part, you look like one with all those wrinkles." All three of the other there gasped, and Tsunade rubbed her face and said, "What wrinkles?" Naruto said, "The ones you have on your face and hands. Genjutsu doesn't work on me." As he heard Eva say there was a genjutsu on Tsunade, Jiraiya thought, so that suit can even penetrate Tsunade genjutsu. Tsunade crossed her arms and glared at Naruto and said, "So what if you see what I really look like? I am still a Sannin Chunnin." Naruto said, "All I see is a old has been drunk who lets her past control her. The bingo book tells all about you brother and fiancé dying in the war, and you leaving Konoha vowing never to return. You may have at one time have been a great Sannin, but all I see is an old decrepit has been who drinks too much sake with a massive gambling addiction, and—" As a punch hit him right in the head and he flew back 20 feet through a wall. Jiraiya screamed, "Naruto," as he started to move as Tsunade lowered her fist. To everyone's shock, Naruto walked in and said, "Damn, Sakura punches harder than you do Granny, and she's a weak fangirl, and here I expected more from a Sannin, but I guess you were the weaker of the three then, because I fought Orochimaru before, so I know how tough he is, and I can beat Ero-san here with a single jutsu just like I beat the old man, so tell me, what does it feel like to be a weakling?" Jiraiya thought the suit must have absorbed most of the chakra from Tsunade punch, which is why he was not hurt. "Be careful, kid, because Tsunade losing it." Tsunade narrowed her eyes and said, "This kid is just as much of an idiot as your last student Jiraiya." Naruto said, "At least my father had the balls to protect what is precious to him, but maybe that's your problem. Since you were never born with them, perhaps no one ever gave you any either. Maybe it was because your body is so old and your boobs are so sagged to bad you never could attract anyone after your fiancé. He must have felt sorry for you." Tsunade turned red and Jiraiya was wide-eyed and thought, "OFSK kid, you just had to go there, didn't you?" Tsunade said, "That's it kid, you're dead. Talk bad about me all you want, but don't you ever speak about Dan like that," as she charged at Naruto. Naruto snorts and jumps backwards and glides out the hole in the wall he went through earlier as Tsunade chased after him. Shizen, who was shocked, started to chase after them when Jiraiya grabbed her shoulder and shook her head and said, "Don't worry. The kid can take the punishment he's about to receive, and his left arm is broke, so he can't really use any jutsu, so he can't hurt her." Shizune said, "But—" Jiraiya said, "Come on, but let this play out. Maybe this will work out." And thought, "I hope." Naruto, who glided backwards 50 feet in front of Tsunade, led her outside the village and stopped in the field, and Tsunade said, "Finally decided to quit running Gaki." Naruto said, "No, unlike you, I don't like to see others suffer for getting caught in the middle. You attack Jiraiya and me for just talking, and you never care about who got hurt in the process, you old hag. Perhaps that's why your family is all dead now, because you never cared." Tsunade screamed, "You don't know," as she froze as she saw blood running down Naruto's left arm from going through the wall with an inch piece of wood sticking out of his arm, and Naruto saw her freeze and blinked and looked around and followed her eyes and thought, "My blood. What made her freeze?" As he raised his arm that had a trail of blood going down it as he walked toward her, and he saw her becoming scared as she fell backwards and tried to scoot back. Naruto frowned and thought, so the sight of blood makes her freeze. Must be because of what happened during the war. Gigi always got those far-off looks in his eyes when he talked about the bad battles he was in when he was younger. Just then Jiraiya and Shizen arrived, and Naruto turned to them and said, "Come on, Ero-sanin. I was wrong. She's not a coward, but she's useless to anyone know. If a little blood from a scratch makes her freeze, then she can't heal anyone and she would never be able to be Hokage. She doesn't have the will of fire to protect herself, much less what is precious to her. She doesn't have the strength to be Hokage because true strength comes from protecting that which is precious to you. A Hokage has to hold Konoha precious to them no matter what and be willing to do anything to protect it, including sacrificing their lives. A person who can't stand the sight of blood can't send someone to fight and possibly die in battle so that their loved ones at home could live on in their name. She never understood that was why her brother and fiancé died for. You told me that they wanted to be Hokage, so they knew they had to protect what is precious to them, even with their lives. They held her as precious and died so she wouldn't. My father did the same thing, giving his life to seal Kyuubi into me to protect me and Konoha. My life may have been hell, but I understand why now and I accept that fact. I am a Jinchuriki. I will sacrifice myself to protect what is precious to me because my dream is to be Hokage. I will become Hokage one day. I give you my word and I never go back on my word. That's my ninja way. as he turned and started to walk away. Jiraiya looked at him and asked, "Where are you going, Gaki?" Naruto said, "Home. The mission's a failure because the Sannin Tsunade died a long time ago. All that is left is an old woman who is lost in her past. We all lose people who we care for. You lost my father who was like a son to you according to Gigi. Gigi lost his son and wife. I lost both my parents before I ever had a chance to know them, but we at least live on in their memory. Or at least Gigi and I do. Maybe that is why you spend all that time away, was because like Tsunade you never actually got over my dad's death. I don't know, but I see that she is not the person we came looking for. There's no will to live in her eyes anymore, much less the will of fire. How can she ever heal my arm if she can't even heal herself? I got the key to the hotel room, so I am going to get a bite to eat and sleep. We can go back home tomorrow." As he walked away, Shizen, who was over at Tsunade's side holding her, looked at Naruto leaving and thought, "He is so much like my uncle. Oh, Tsunade," as she felt Tsunade shaking. Jiraiya sighed and pulled out a scroll and unsealed some sake and a deck of cards and sat down across from Tsunade and said, "Go on and get something to eat, Shizun. I will stay with her." As he began to deal the cards, Shizen looked at him and Tsunade slowly reached for the sake and Shizen sighed as she stood up slowly and walked back toward town. In town, Naruto thought, "So what now, Eva? Tsunade can't heal my arm and Gigi and Erosanin both said she was the only one who could fix it. Without my arm my career is over and I don't know how to do anything else." Eva was quiet for several minutes, and in Naruto HUD display a picture of the bones in his arm appeared, and Eva said, "According to the current information I have based on the scans of your body before and after the injury as well as comparing to that of your right arm, the broken bone will never be able to be healed because your body does not have the necessary material or information on how to recreate an entire missing section of bone, much less two. The only possible theory I can come up with is replacement with a compatible component." Naruto thought, but what can be a replacement part for a bone besides another bone, and if so, how can it be done? Eva turned the bone in his vision horizontal and placed a view of the armor for the right arm in view and two pieces that looked like springs with metal couplers highlighted before being removed, and he saw how after sawing the bone in his arm to a smooth set length to slowly attack those two pieces to his arm, and Eva said, "Based on the current information I believe that transferring the shock adapters to your arm from the suit that your arm could be repaired, however this operation only has a 42% chance of succeeding, and the chance of you either going into shock from the pain resulting in you dying from the blood loss or virus infection after the process was completed is a possibility. Unlike when you were poisoned by the demon brothers, your body no longer has trace amounts of Kyubi chakra flowing through it to neutralize the poison or infections. You still have an advanced metabolism as well as healing factor from adapting to the Kyubi chakra, and any poisons your body has already been infected with you are immune to, as well as any viruses that you have encountered. However, you will have to fight normal infection like everyone else, which increase the chance of you dying from this process, since the type of virus you will most likely come in contact with is one that results in the loss of people's limbs or death." Naruto stopped and thought, "Are there any other alternatives?" Eva said, "At this moment, with the exception of some form of medical treatment from Tsunade with the knowledge of basic human anatomy and your own body, I can find no other alternative." Naruto bit his lip and looked around and thought, "Can you demonstrate the process while it is going on to me like you did to help the Rasengan?" Eva was silent for several seconds and said, "If you intend to do this operation yourself, the chance of survival drops to less than 10%, as all I will be able to do is demonstrate the process. I won't be able to help if you pass out from blood loss or pain." Naruto looked up at the sky and said, "I understand. Show me a list of everything I will need to do this." A man who had a small booth set up said, "Well, all you got to do is follow the ball, kid, and you win if you can pick the cup that has the ball in it." Making Naruto look at him, Naruto asked, "Huh?" The man said, "Didn't you just ask how to do this?" Naruto thought a second and said, "Yeah, show me how to play real quick, please." The man showed a ball under the middle cup of 7 cups and he started to move them, and Eva highlighted the cup and he said, "Just chose the right cup and win if you pay to play. 3-to-1 odds, kid, you be 5 and win you get 15, get it?" As he showed the cup Eva highlighted, Naruto said, "Sure," as he reached into his sleeve pocket on his broke arm and pulled out his frog wallet, and the man said, "Funny place to put your money." Naruto said, "I guess let's start over again and I will place all my money on the game," and the man said, "Seems like you my kind of player, an all or nothing type, huh? Let's see. 500, alright kid, you win and I pay you 1500, so either way one of us will have 2000, but I won't have enough to play another game after that for today, so you sure you want to play?" Naruto said, "Sure." The man placed the 500 from Naruto and the 1500 together, and he showed the ball, and he moved faster this time as Eva tracked the right cup, and when the man finished Naruto pointed to the right cup and the man said, "Guess luck is on your side today, kid. CYA around." as he showed Naruto one and handed Naruto the money. Naruto said, "I feel bad about winning though." The man chuckled and said, "Trust me, kid. I am glad you actually won. You see, I haven't always been a trustworthy dealer. If you were one of the snobbish nobles or a dickhead, I would have cheated your ass like this." As a small slot appeared under one of the circles in the table where the cup go. Naruto said, "I see. So why tell me?" The man said, "I know you cheated somehow. I don't know how, but your eyes never bothered to track the cup, so you had some way of knowing. I've done this for a long time, kid, and anyone who can cheat me deserves to win." Naruto looked sheepish and the man said, "Relax. Everyone cheats at gambling one way or another, either with dirty deals, trick dice, marked cards, or even food and liquor. It all comes down to who is better at it." Naruto squinted his eyes and asked, "How can you cheat with food or liquor?" The man said, "Several ways actually. 1. The waitress who comes with the items can either have a shiny tray to show the others your cards, looks at your cards while setting the items down and signaling a dealer or another player, or the best way is make you enjoy yourself while gambling. People who are drunk spend more than they realize and don't pay as much attention, and good food will make you hungry, so you will want another bite of it while it is hot before it gets cold to distract you from the game and you don't mind losing a few hands that you would have won normally because you're happy, and the thing the casino get their money back if you win is when you tell others how you won they come hoping to win and try the good food and drinks, giving the house more chances win back what they lost plus more. Entertainment's the same way. Draw you there to spend your money and treat you special, and you will act like a king spending more than you normally would, and soon you broke and the house wins. It's all cheating, but in the end it all comes down to who is better at it. You ever play me again or anyone else with my game, be sure to follow with your eyes so they think you an easy mark, and remember to watch for traps. CYA kid. As he turned with his fold-up table and left. Naruto thought, "I see." Eva said, "Though next time I won't help you cheat unless there is a reason. I do not know how much it will cost to get the items we need, so I helped where I could since you hurt because of me." Naruto thought, "No, Eva. It was my fault for not understanding what I ordered you to do so I could save Gaara. If I lose my arm, I don't blame you. Everyone was right about me. I am an idiot who rushes into things without thinking." Eva was silent on this, and Naruto sighed when he felt someone touch his left arm, and he looked and saw Shizune, who had her eyes narrowed, and asked, "How come you did not feel me touch you until I touched your broke arm?" Naruto said, "I have my reasons. Can I help you with something?" Shizune said, "Yes." As she slapped him and winced as her hand hit his face, and she said, "Your face feels like metal." Naruto said, "You think? How else do you think I survived that punch from the old hag?" Shizune frowned and said, "You really should not have said that to her. You don't know what she has been through in her life. The death of her brother and my uncle hurt her worse than any kunai wound." Naruto narrowed his eyes and said, "Actually, I think I know exactly what she's been through. I know the pain of losing someone you care about. I lost someone who I wish could have been my brother. I know what it is like to have no one in your life to comfort you. She has you by her side, but she doesn't even realize the pain she is causing you by being the way she is. I may be an idiot, but I can read people's eyes better than anyone, and I see the way you look at her. I know you care for her for some reason, but I also see it causes you pain, regret, pity. When was the last time you did something for yourself? When was the last time you actually had a smile on your face or felt you made a difference in the world? Your eyes should have little crow's feet beside them from laughing and smiling, but all I see is the beginning of wrinkles, and you're only, 10 years older than me, if even that. You're too young to have wrinkles. You should be turning heads, breaking hearts, and having a life and family. Not being dragged down by your only connection to your dead family. Do you think that your uncle would want either you or her to spend your life the way you are, or do you think he would want you to spend your life telling your children and grandchildren about the amazing man he was? If you think I hate Tsunade or you, then you're wrong. I just pity you both, because to me you both represent what I could have become if I never would have met Haku. Now if you will excuse me, I have some stuff to do." As he walked by her and began to walk through the town looking at the stores, but stops and said over his shoulder, "Just remember, Shizune. Tsunade not gonna live forever, nobody does. What will you do when she's gone and you're too old to start to live? I hope you find what you're looking for." Shizune stood there and thought, How can he know how I feel in my heart, having never met me before? I know Uncle Dan would be sad with the way Tsunade and I live, and I know I want to start a family after finding someone to love, but I can't just leave Tsunade in her darkness alone. What should I do?" 2 hours later, Naruto unlocked the door to the hotel room, and he closed the door and sat the bag on the table in the room inside as Eva appeared, and he began to unpack the bag on the table before he went into the bathroom and grabbed all the towels and grabbed the metal ice bucket and filled it with hot water before walking back to the table. He set a chemical burner on the table with a small bottle of kerosene, and he sat the ice bucket on top of it as it began to heat the water. He then unpacked several knives and a bone saw blade, putting them in the water, and thought, good thing hunting is popular here, and they had a bone saw to cut the bones in the animals. He then dragged the other table over toward the one he had all the items on, and he set the towels on the table, and he stepped back over by the bed and said, all right, Eva, let's get those 2 pieces. Eva nods, and the armor appeared on Naruto's left arm, and he winced as he felt the weight from it, and he set the arm in his lap, and Eva said, just follow my lead. As she showed a holographic screwdriver she scanned that Naruto had got, and a small compartment opened on the left side of the arm, and she said, as you can see, this is the safety shock absorber to help protect your arm from the damage of the thrust cannon. I believe these will be the parts that will work to repair your arms. Are you sure you wish to continue, or perhaps ask Tsunade or Shizune to do this? Naruto frowned and said, no, Tsunade can't do it because she will freeze from the blood, and Shizune won't do it because she cares too much for Tsunade. You can't save those who don't want to be saved, and they can't save others when they themselves are trapped. I realized when I got you, Eva, that I have to rely on myself and you. I can't be protected all my life. I will fix my arm and I will get stronger. I will learn to use you right, and I will show the person who gave you to me that their trust was not wrong. Nobody ever believed in me before like he did. Not even Gigi. I don't know where I would be without you now in my life, but I am thankful for you. And thought, at least I won't be alone again with nobody who cares for me. Eva heard his thoughts and frowned and said, very well. Do as I do, and we can get the parts out within 20 minutes, and by that time the blades should be sterile so we can begin. As she demonstrated how to remove the 2 pieces. When they were done, Eva sealed the armor back into the seals on Naruto's arm, and Naruto asked, what about the armor? Eva said, it will take 24 hours to replace pieces. Naruto asked, exactly how does you do that? Eva said, this suit is filled with nanite technology. Billions of little machines that are each designed to fulfill one purpose each. Repair and replace a section of the armor. As you walk, seals in the shoes absorb the mineral in the dirt, storing them in separate seals. Then as the suit is powered, they are converted into new nanites, who are then stored in parts of the suit to wait for a section of the suit to need repaired. When that happens, they will go to the area that is damaged and replace that section. Naruto scrunched his nose and said, so these little machines repair the suit with themselves. Eva said, yes, though the more damage you receive, the longer it will take to repair the section of the suit. To completely replace one piece takes 24 hours. To replace an entire section, like the entire arm, if completely destroyed, would take 72 hours. If more than one section is destroyed, then it will take even longer. Naruto thought and asked, what if the entire suit was destroyed? What would happen? Naruto felt the armor disappear from his body, and he saw the blue power cell, and Eva walked over and put her finger near it and said, do you see this? This is me. I am connected to you inside of there, connected to your chakra network and your spine, which is how I am able to hear your thoughts. I am also designed with the same technology as the suit. If the entire suit was destroyed, but this remains, I could replace the suit in 3 months. However, if that is destroyed, then it won't matter because I will be dead and so will you. We are one, Naruto. I am a part of you just as you are a part of me. In a sense, I am your heart and you are my body, and we are part of the same soul. I learn as you learn. I have separate thoughts and knowledge, but so does a cage bunshin that has been around for a while. It will be different than who you are at the moment before it dispels, but in the end it is still you just as I am now. Naruto rubbed his head and said, I think I get it, but there is so much I don't understand. Eva chuckled and said, that is the joy of being alive. If you knew everything in the world, what is the use in living? Naruto blinked and said, I guess you're right. Your husband must have been a great man to have you. Eva said, my creator was a great person and so was her husband, but I am not her. I may have her memories, but they were edited, and to me you are my husband, Naruto. Without you I would be nothing but a piece of metal gathering dust. You complete me. Naruto blinked and said, I see. Does that mean you love me? Eva looked confused and said, I am unable to answer that question because even though we are connected and together, we can never be truly together. At most I can be is as I am right now, either a hologram or voice in your head. I will protect you because you are precious to me, because without you there is no me, but I cannot say that I love you because I am not sure what love is. I will never be able to give you physical comfort or love. The most I can do is give you emotional support. Naruto was quiet for several minutes and said, Eva, I understand what you're saying. I realize that we can never be together physically, but you and I are together mentally and spiritually. I would not be who I am without you. I know that there may come a day where I will find someone who I will love the way you can't, but you will also have a place in my heart. After all, you are my heart. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I love you. No matter what, I will always love you because you have loved me like no one else ever has. You will know me better than anyone ever. I hope you understand that. Eva was quiet again and said, I believe I understand what you are referring to, and if that is your decision, then I will love you always as well. Even if we are separate but the same, I will be here for you always, but I want you to promise me something. Your Nindo is never to go back on your word, so I want you to promise me that you will not use me as an excuse to not find your own happiness with a real person someday. I do not want you turning into those two women we met today who are holding on to something they can't have. If you ever do, I will delete myself, causing my death. The nanites will continue to do their job even without me, and you will live. If you truly love me, then make the promise you will not let me hold you from true happiness. Naruto looked at her in the eyes and said, I promise, Eva. Eva said, good. Now the water is as hot as it will get, so those knives are ready. Go wash your hand with that antibacterial soap and then set the knives on the towels neatly for access. Then we will begin. Naruto did as he was told, and as he sat down by the table he tied his broke arm at the wrist and the elbow with wire to prevent it from moving, and Eva showed her pouring some betadine on the arm, and Naruto copied her moves. She then took a knife and carefully cut into Naruto's arm, and Naruto bit his lip as he put the blade himself in the spot, and he winced as he cut a 6-inch line down his arm as blood started to come out of the wound before he cut a 3-inch line across the top and the bottom of the first cut, and he then took a cloth's pin and pinned the skin he cut back onto the towel as he saw all the blood coming out. Eva said, use the baby nose pump to suck the blood out of the area around your bone as I do, as she showed the section to clean. Naruto was sweating heavy from the pain and he screamed, OWW, as he felt the suction on the sensitive tissue on the inside of his arm. Eva said, I know it hurts, but we must continue. Your body is already reacting to the blood loss as well as the pain, and you're entering the first stages of shock. Naruto gritted his teeth and said in a loud voice, just show me what to do. Eva said, you must be careful here, Naruto. Naruto. As she looked up at him as he was beginning to sway, and she said loudly, Naruto. Naruto, pay attention or you're going to die. It's the blood loss. You must stay focused and look at me. Naruto, look at me. Eva frowned as she looked around, and the suit of armor appeared around Naruto's body, including his arm, and Eva said, redirecting liquid hydrogen from propulsion system to left arm, beginning freezing process. As the suit of armor was covered in white frost, and Eva thought, this will give him at most an hour. No choice, forgive me, Naruto. Activating remote control. As Naruto's body started to stand up and breaking the ninja wire that held the arm, and it began to walk toward the window and walk through it. People on the street began to scream as a suit of armor began to walk through the street with red light scanning the faces of everyone as they ran to get away from the strange metal monster. As the suit walked through the street, a man with a pitchfork appeared and held the pitchfork in his hand and screamed, what are you and what do you want? In a scared voice. Eva said in a male voice, I am Iron Man. I am looking for the apprentice to Tsunade Senju of the Sanins named Shizune. A medical emergency needs her assistance. I mean no harm, but please help me find this woman. She has black shoulder-length hair and black eyes. She may be carrying a pig and was seen approximately less than 3 hours ago in this area. It is a medical emergency. The man asked, how can I be sure you speak the truth? Iron Man said, I am a Konoha ninja who have been traveling with Jiraiya of the Sannin and another ninja. We were sent here to find Tsunade and Shizune, but the other ninja we came with is injured and currently dying from blood loss. Please, if you see this woman, tell her to find me. As the suit began to move, Shizune's voice came through the crowd and asked, who is hurt and what is wrong? Iron Man said, Naruto is currently suffering from blood loss nearby. Please come because I believe he has less than an hour left to live. Shizune frowned and said, all right, show me where he is. Iron Man walked over and held out his arm and said, climb on and I can get us there faster. Please trust me and hurry. Shizune frowned and sat taunting the pig on the ground and said, please get Tsunade-sama. As she got close to Iron Man wrapped his arms around her with the left arm being away from Shizune's body contact so the frost on it would not harm her and said, hold on. And before Shizune had a chance to say anything, they flew into the air, leaving a shock group as Shizune screamed. They soon landed on the roof of the hotel where Jiraiya and Naruto had been, and when Iron Man let go of Shizune, Eva appeared, shocking Shizune, and the armor around Naruto fell beside his right arm that was still frozen white, and Shizune asked, what's going on and who are you? As she looked at the passed out form of Naruto and then at Eva. Eva said, I don't have much time. Since Tsunade could not do anything for him and he believed that you would be unwilling to help him with his arm, I told him of an experimental procedure to replace the missing bone in his arm with pieces of the armor. He tried the operation himself and passed out from blood loss. I currently have his arm in a temporary frozen state like frostbite to slow the blood loss, but I need you to finish the operation on his arm in the room below. Can you please pick him up and follow me, and I will tell you how to save him? Shizun said, if you know how to save him, then how come you don't do it? Eva went and slapped Shizun, but her hand went through Shizun and she said, I would if I was real. Please, he doesn't have much time. In a pleading voice. Shizun frowned and said, all right, show me where and what to do. As she picked up Naruto's body and saw the glow from the power cell, she followed Eva down to the room, and after she used a mud wall jutsu to fix the hole in the wall setting Naruto on the bed, she asked, what now? Eva said, do exactly as I do and I will show you how to replace the missing bone. After that you will have to heal the injured veins in his arm with your own knowledge, as I am not a medic. Shizun frowned and asked, how can you be sure this will work then? Eva said, I have no choice. Please, just trust me, because if Naruto dies, I die. Shizun looked around taking inventory of everything, and she quickly sanitizes her hand and said, all right, what now? Eva then grabbed the items off the table and moved over, and the armor disappeared and the bed was instantly covered with the blood, and Shizun thought, shit, this is not good. As she did a quick scan and she said, I need to work on the bleeding first or he will die, give me a few minutes. As she began to heal the veins as best as she could, and after 5 minutes giving Naruto a blood pill, she said, that should give us a little time, now show me what to do and hurry. Eva then demonstrated how to saw the bone and then connect the two pieces by inserting then where the support rods for the arm would have went, as well as bonding them to the bone with screw that began to move into the bone, reinforcing it, as well as making a stopper so the bone could not come out of the shock absorbers. When this was all done, Eva said, that's all I know. The replacement parts have already began to connect to his arm, so in 24 hours they should be even better than his own bone. It's up to you to fix the rest. As the armor appeared on Naruto again before appearing as if it was never there, and Eva disappeared. Shizun began using her medical knowledge to help him, and she thought, what the hell is going on? Damn it, why didn't he ask another doctor to do that procedure? Him and Jiraiya-sama both have a lot to answer. About 20 minutes later she finished, and she wiped the sweat off her face, and she looked at his skin that was nearly healed completely, and she said, I wonder if he has a bloodline or something. He has an advanced cellular regeneration that I have never seen before. The test on his motor skills I ran after fixing the damage done to his arm show good signs of returning to normal with only a little rehabilitation. Maybe none depending on how he adapts to those metal pieces. The chance of infection are moderate though, so he will need some antibiotics. I guess I can run by the local pharmacy and see if they have what he needs. As she got up and cleaned herself up as best as possible and left the room. After searching for about 20 minutes, Jiraiya and Tsunade came running up, and Tsunade saw Shizun and the blood and froze again, and Jiraiya asked, are you okay, Shizun? What happened? Taunton came running up to us, all excited for some reason. Are you hurt? Shizun looked down at herself and said, no, the blood belongs to Naruto. Since he believed Tsunade would not perform the operation to heal his arm, and that I would be unwilling to because of my connection to Tsunade-sama, he attempted to perform the operation himself. Some girl named Iron Man came and found me after he passed out from blood loss. Jiraiya thought a second and said, a suit of red and gold metal. Shizun glared at him and said, yes, and I have a lot of questions about that, as well as whatever the hell that woman was. Anyways, the operation appears to be a success, and the metal replacement parts were grafted to his missing bone in his left arm, and it appears with his unique regeneration abilities, he should make a full recovery providing he receive a couple of antibiotics that I was on my way to get. I do ask, if that woman was able to show me how to heal his arm like she did, how come you had to come find us instead of using a doctor in Konoha? Surely someone could have done it. Jiraiya frowned and said, Shizun, I know you and Tsunade both know the truth about the Kyuubi. Think about it. Shizun blinked and her eyes went wide and said, so he's… Jiraiya said, yes, what you saw is something only the Sandaime, myself, Naruto, and one other person is aware of before now. I can't give any more details now, but… Anything else he was going to say ended when an explosion happened at the hotel where him and Naruto was staying. Jiraiya turned and quickly ran in that direction. Shizun frowned and started to run after Jiraiya, but stopped as she noticed Tsunade was still frozen, and the words Naruto spoke to her came back to her. Flashback. When was the last time you did something for yourself? When was the last time you actually had a smile on your face or felt you made a difference in the world? Do you think that your uncle would want either you or her to spend your life the way you are? Just remember Shizune, Tsunade not gonna live forever, nobody does. What will you do when she's gone and you're too old to start to live? I hope you find what you're looking for. End flashback. Shizune looked at Tsunade and said, Tsunade-sama, you used to tell me that as a medic it was my duty to cause no harm and to help those that I could. Helping Naruto earlier reminded me why I wanted to be a medic in the first place. Uncle Dan would not want us to live our life like we had. I have stood by you when everyone wouldn't because of the pain of losing him. Somebody reminded me recently that nobody lives forever. He asked me what will I do once you were gone and I was too old to start to live my own life. I care for you, Tsunade-sama, because you're the only family I have left living, but I can't follow this path any longer. Uncle Dan would not want me to and he wouldn't want you to either. Can you face him when you die as you are now, or do you want to face him as he remembered you? I hope you find what you're looking for because Naruto was right. The Tsunade my uncle loved and asked to marry him died a long time ago, but she didn't die on the battlefield but in a bottle running from her past. As she looked sadly at Tsunade once last time and then jumped away after Jiraiya. Tsunade fell to her feet after Shizune was gone as she held her head as flashback of her brother and fiancé appeared as well as Shizune words, and then she remembered what Naruto said. Flashback. She never understood that was why her brother and fiancé died for. You told me that they wanted to be Hokage, so they knew they had to protect what is precious to them, even with their lives. They held her as precious and died so she wouldn't. My father did the same thing, giving his life to seal Kyuubi into me to protect me and Konoha. My life may have been hell, but I understand why now and I accept that fact. I am a Jinchuriki. I will sacrifice myself to protect what is precious to me because my dream is to be Hokage. I will become Hokage one day. I give you my word and I never go back on my word. That's my nindo, my ninja way. End flashback. Tsunade reached up and grabbed the necklace on her neck as tears fell and more of Naruto words came back. Flashback. There's no will to live in her eyes anymore, much less the will of fire. How can she ever heal my arm if she can't even heal herself? Flashback end. Tsunade looked at the sky and thought, Dan Nawaki, what should I do? A flashback of her brother appeared and he said, my dream is to be Hokage, so I can protect Konoha and those who live in it just like Grandpa and Grand Uncle did. Another flashback appeared of Dan and he said, my dream is to be Hokage because I want to protect what I hold in my heart dear to me. Another flashback of Naruto, this time saying, I will sacrifice myself to protect what is precious to me because my dream is to be Hokage. I will become Hokage one day. I give you my word and I never go back on my word. That's my nindo, my ninja way. One last one appeared in her mind and she heard Naruto say, she doesn't have the strength to be Hokage because true strength comes from protecting that which is precious to you. A Hokage has to hold Konoha precious to them no matter what and be willing to do anything to protect it, including sacrificing their lives. She clenched her fist and thought, is that what you both believed? That Konoha was so precious to you that you both died to protect it? You both thought that I was precious to you, so you both died to protect me. Oh, what a fool I have been. Please forgive me. As she closed her eyes. Just then an explosion rocked the side of the town where the others were and Tsunade stood up slowly and looked in that direction and a new fire burned in her eyes and she thought, I will not hide and be weak anymore. I will find true strength again. Just watch me. As she jumped on the roof and charged toward the form of Gambunta and Manda with narrowed eyes. Earlier, before the first explosion. After Shizune left the room, Eva detected the door opening to the room, and she quickly activated the armor on Naruto's body, as well as the stealth shield, making it appear as if he was asleep, but the blood on the bed still was there. A pair of figures walked into the room and one laughed and said, my Kabuto, what do we have here? It appears that the Kyuubi child was in need of medical care for some reason. It was a good thing our informant learned of the battle he had with Itachi and Kisame recently, and we decided to follow. I wanted to pay him back for ruining all my plans. Not only did he stop and defeat Shikaku, but my carefully planned out surprise attack to kill Sensei was ruined. I was not able to get him away so we could fight after I was knocked away. Kabuto looked around the room and said, it appears they went through a lot of trouble to make a field hospital, though who was that figure in the strange armor we saw flying to this hotel? Orochimaru said, it does not matter at this time. Let's kill the boy. As he sent snakes at Naruto's body to bite him, but they all could not enter his skin. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes as Kabuto threw a kunai that bounced off Naruto's skin. Both looked at each other and Orochimaru walked over and touched Naruto's skin and said, strange. It feels like iron skin. Kabuto, also lifting Naruto's arm up and let it fall, said, Could it be some type of bloodline or perhaps a gift from the Kyuubi, like Gaara defense? Orochimaru seemed to think a moment and said, perhaps so. It would make sense the fox would give him some sort of way to protect him. I did not notice it in the Forest of Death though, but perhaps it was something that he just recently received. As he took a kunai and tapped Naruto's body a couple of times, hearing the sound of metal on metal, Orochimaru said, he would have been an interesting test subject, but I cannot take the chance that Jiraiya comes and saves him or that he escapes later. He has interfered too many times already for my liking. Even if his skin is made of some kind of metal, I doubt that it can handle being crushed and blown up. Set the place on fire and I will summon Manda to crush the building remains. As he left, Kabuto smirked as he placed the Bunsen burner on Naruto's chest and set the fuel canister on top before he quickly left the room. After he left, Eva appeared and frowned as she activated the remote control again, dropping the stealth shield and knocked the burner away. Unfortunately, the flames landed near the curtain and the fuel hose broke off the kerosene and it explodes. Outside the building, Orochimaru chuckles as he sees the explosion, but a moment later Iron Man shot out of the roof and landed on it, and Orochimaru narrowed his eyes and bit his thumb and wiped the blood on the seal on his arm and began flashing through hand signs. As he was about to finish, Jiraiya arrived and also began the same process. A few seconds apart, the sound of Kuchiyose no Jutsu was heard and Jiraiya looked at the roof of the building and said, Iron Man, how is Naruto? Iron Man said, he is currently safe though Orochimaru and Kabuto tried to kill him. A chuckle was heard and Kabuto appeared and said, I was not aware that my name and exploits were so well known. Forgive me for asking, but who are you? I never seen you before. Iron Man said, I am Iron Man. As he raised his right arm and a senbon launcher raised out of it and shot out 10 senbons, and another explosion went off as Kabuto replaced himself. Iron Man flew into the air and Shizen arrived at that moment and Iron Man said, look out for Kabuto Shizen. He already tried to kill Naruto after you left. He works for Orochimaru. Shizen looked around when a pair of hands came out of the ground and cut her calf muscles and she screamed as she fell to the ground. At that moment Kabuto came out of the ground and went to kill Shizen from behind when Tsunade appeared, kicking him in the back, sending him flying toward a small pile of rubble, and Iron Man launched another set of 10 needles at Kabuto, and this time he cried out in pain as the right side of his face was burned from the explosion. Tsunade looked around and asked, are you okay, Shizen? Shizen, who was trying to heal her legs, said, I will be shortly, Tsunade-sama. And Iron Man landed and Shizen said, he's a friend. And Tsunade nods and said, where is the Gaki? Iron Man said, he is safe for now. Tsunade said, good. Then take Shizen and go guard him. Neither of you are ready for this level of fighting. As she summoned Katsuyu and Orochimaru said, it appears a reunion of the Sanins, huh? How are you, Tsunade? As he cut his finger, Tsunade narrowed her eyes and said, time to die, Oroki-chan. Iron Man picked up Shizen and flew into the air as the battle bellow began. Shizen looked down while her hand glowed and Eva whispered through the suit, Shizen, I only have 10 minutes of power left and Naruto will be defenseless. Can you show us someplace safe? Shizen frowned and looked down and then said, I can take you to our hotel room. Head east and I will tell you when to stop. Iron Man flew toward the direction that Shizen directed and soon landed on a hotel roof, and Eva said, any longer and Naruto might die from chakra exhaustion. Sorry. As the suit fell away and Shizen acted quickly and caught him before he hit the ground. After looking around, she went to pick up Naruto when she heard a kunai approaching and acting on instinct turned, drawing one of her own and deflected it. She then took a defensive position in front of Naruto to hide him as much as possible from view. She narrowed her eyes as she saw Kabuto with his face restored, but one of his eyes was white, showing blindness, and she said, so you're back, huh? Kabuto said, yes. Lord Orochimaru sent me to with you, and the other man though, where is he? I know he can't be Naruto because I recognized the signs of blood loss, so he could not have been the one fighting, so that means there must be a third person, so where is he? As his eyes darted around, Shizen said, he's gone back to deal with Orochimaru. Kabuto frowned and said, I see. Then I will have to deal with you quickly before. As he was suddenly sent flying and a 2-foot-tall old toad with a cane landed where Kabuto had been. The toad said, young whippersnappers these days, always forgetting to watch their backs. I take it the boy there is Naruto. Shizen said, hi. Did Jiraiya-sama send you? The toad looked at Kabuto and said, yes. As he tapped his cane 4 times on the ground and 4 6-foot-tall battle toads appeared on the roof. Kabuto narrowed his eyes and said, I seem to have the disadvantage at the moment, but tell Naruto-kun that it will only be a matter of time before Orochimaru has his revenge for ruining his plans, and I will deal with this Iron Man myself the next time we meet." As he melted into the ground. After he was gone, the old toad walked over to Naruto and said, So this is Minato-san. I can tell the Kyuubi is here." As he tapped Naruto's stomach, but for some reason the Kyuubi power is not in the boy. I believe it has something to do with this. As he tapped the blue glow that was slowly leaking through Naruto's shirt. Jiraiya and Tsunade arrived a few moments later, and Jiraiya looked at Naruto and Shizen asked, "What happened to Orochimaru?" Tsunade cracked her knuckles and said, "He retreated when Jiraiya entered Sage mode, though he sent him to aid you and Naruto for some reason. Why did you flee when you were safe in the air, and where is Iron Man?" Jiraiya shot a look around and said, "Eva, how is he?" Tsunade looked questionably when Eva appeared and said, "He is currently down to about 13% of chakra. When I was forced to access remote control of the suit to find Shizune and then to save his life when Orochimaru and Kabuto planted a bomb on his body, I had to use a 1/3 of his chakra both times, and the rest I used to fly and to attack with senbons." Tsunade was wide-eyed seeing the hologram, and the Elder Toad asked, "What are you?" Jiraiya said, "She is now a part of Naruto. The armor, her, and this are all connected." As he raised Naruto's shirt showing the power cell in his chest. Eva said, "I must go for now because using this holographic form uses his chakra as well." As she faded away, Jiraiya said, "Thank you for coming to protect them, Pa. I am in your debt." The now-named Pa said, "It's nothing, little Jiraiya, but I want the full story about this later. Somehow that device is purifying his chakra of all the Kyuubi power. There is none in his body except in the seal." Jiraiya nods and all the toads go up in smoke. Tsunade walked over to look at Naruto, and Shizen picked him up and said, "Let's take him to our room, Tsunade-sama, and thank you for coming to help us." Tsunade bit her lip and said, "I take it the Gaki here was the one who gave you the advice." Shizen nods as they entered the hotel room, and Tsunade asked as she closed the door, "Tell me, Jiraiya, exactly what type of Chunin do I have under my command in the Gaki?" Making both Jiraiya and Shizen look at her with wide eyes. Jiraiya asked, "Does that mean you're going to accept Sensei's request to become the Godame Hokage?" Tsunade reached up to her necklace, and she looked at it a moment and walked over to Naruto and said as she tied it around his neck, "To protect what is precious to you is when you find true strength. To believe that Konoha and her people are what is most precious to you is what each of the Hokage have understood. I never realized that until today that Dan and Nawaki both sacrificed their lives not in vain but to achieve their dream, but they had already achieved it. They found the strength to ensure that others would live when they wouldn't. I never understood that until this Gaki here literally shoved that in my face. I have to now redeem myself to the memories of both of them as well as him. One more time I will take a chance to believe in a dream. I acknowledge his dream that one day he will become Hokage, and I will kill anyone who tries to take that dream away." Jiraiya smiled and Shizen said, "So we are returning to Konoha then?" Tsunade said, "No, we are returning home, Shizen." Making Shizen let out a tear. Naruto slowly opened his eyes looking at Tsunade's eyes as a small smile appeared on his face and said, "So this is Tsunade Senju of the Sanins." Tsunade smiled and leaned forward and kissed his head and said, "Rest, Gaki. Everything's okay now." Naruto slowly raised his left arm and he moved his fingers and turned his arm and said, "Yeah, everything's gonna be okay now. Thanks." As he fell back asleep, Tsunade turned and said, "Now Jiraiya, tell me about Konoha and him, and I mean everything." Jiraiya said, "Well," as he rubbed his head and began to tell them what he knew.